Are you ready, Marty?
I am.
Thank you. Good evening. I will call the City Council for the City of Missoula to order. It is September 12th, 2022. If you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. All righty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming down tonight. We have a big meeting tonight with a very important item on it, but we're going to go through some of our protocol at the beginning first. And Marty, if you could please go through the steps if people want to join virtually or phone in, please.
I'd be happy to. Let me jump over to our website here. And I'll share my screen so folks can follow along. All right, folks, if you are watching on MCAT or maybe joined by phone and we're having trouble, here is how to join our meeting from the website. And I'll give you phone numbers as well as meeting IDs. So if you want to go grab a piece of paper, I'll be along with those phone numbers and IDs just a minute. In your favorite search engine, you can look for the City of Missoula. You'll come up to a beautiful picture of our community and the City of Missoula's title up here on the left. And down here under the picture, you'll see a meetings button. It's the second button in. And if you click on that button, you will be seeing our public meeting portal. This is the way you'd access any public meeting here at the city. All of our boards and commissions, as well as City Council and City Council committee meetings, are held in a hybrid format. That means you can attend in either in person or via computer or phone. We have instructions up here about attending and watching meetings. I'm going to hop just down to tonight's meeting to demonstrate how to join tonight's meeting. So there's a little picture of a calendar here, and it is September 12th, and green and white is the color of City Council meetings. So when you click on, I'm sorry if you're getting lots of noise, there is a truck from the alleyway here that's really noisy. But if you click on the meeting, you'll have a dialog box pop open, and you have a variety of ways to view our agenda. If you're watching via computer and you want to look at all of the documents associated with the items that council's considering, I recommend the HTML version. PDF is a package that you could download, but HTML is really the way to go here. When you open up an agenda, you'll get this interface, and up here at the top, you will be able to see how to join our Teams meetings. If there's a link that you can join this meeting, it says click here to join the meeting. You may be prompted to join, to download the Microsoft Teams app, and your device, be it a computer or a smartphone, may ask you to enable audio and video, Teams to access your audio and video. And you'll want to do that so that you can hear the meeting. Now, here is that phone number that I promised at the start of my spiel. The call-in number for our meeting is local. It is 406-384-6960. That is 406-384-6960. And when you call that number, you will be prompted for a phone conference ID number, and that number is 387-736-445 and the pound sign. Again, that phone conference ID, 387-736-445 and the pound sign. And when you join with a phone, you can press *5 to raise your hand to be recognized for public comment. and *6 to mute and unmute. And Teams will give you those instructions when you join the meeting. And I think that's everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Marty. And we have all counselors in attendance. I would note that Kristen Jordan is in attendance virtually in terms of roll call. We have minutes from August 29th, 2022 to approve. Were there any changes to those minutes? Seeing no changes, those will stand approved. And we will take first public comment on items not on the agenda. So if you want to comment on anything that is on the agenda tonight, that will come when that agenda item is called. But for right now, items not on the agenda, and we'll go to people in the room first. If you want to come on up. And state your name, and we try and keep it to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Council. My name is Matt Sullivan, and the name of my company is MCMB Property Management. We have a property on Front Street that has been a very contentious project I wanted to speak to. We were meeting with someone in the city about 2 weeks ago who mentioned at the last council meeting this project came up again. I went back and reviewed the video for the meeting, and someone came up during public comment and mentioned that my wife and I's company had lied to you all, and they used the word lie several times in their public comment. To be exact, it was 4 times. We did not lie to you. I want to be very clear to you all that the tenants on our Front Street location have been abreast of this development. We have no intent to kick them out. In fact, the tenants at 401 Front gave us 30-day notice that they would be leaving the property. They have a joint and severable lease, which means they're all responsible for that lease. When they gave us that notice, we turned around and said, okay, then it means you're all giving 30 days notice, right? And they said, oh no, some of us want to stay. So we said, would you like to stay longer? And they said, yes, we would. We said, how about 60 days? And they said, yes, that would be fine. So I just wanted to correct the record to all of you because I plan to partner with the city. My wife and I have provided housing since 2014. We've built small apartment buildings in the city. Back in 2014, we worked with the city very nicely. People really liked us. We were providing a lot of jobs, construction work. When they're at a point in time, there wasn't a lot going on. I mean, there was some, but not as much as we see today. And so we really feel like we've been partners. We want to partner with you, and we want to have a long-term relationship with you all, but we feel like our reputation is being damaged. We feel like what's being communicated to all of you is very one-sided. We feel like what the press is representing is also very one-sided. No one has once asked us for what has truly happened. I brought documents to share with all of you tonight, if that be allowed, that where I've redacted the actual emails of the tenants giving us notice and proving what I'm telling you, so that we're all on the same page here and that we can develop a strong partnership together. I'll go back to my seat and pass them out to you all for your records. But again, I want to thank you. I want to thank folks for helping us who have helped us in the past and into the future. We hope to continue to provide housing in Missoula to its residents. So thank you very much. Appreciate the time tonight.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else on items not on the agenda for tonight?
Good evening. My name is Bob Lucino. I'm a 44-year resident here in Missoula. Served on the council for a few years with Fred Rice, in fact, in the late 80s, early 90s. What I'd like to speak to is, I'd like to reference a conversation I had with the county commissioner. Actually, only yesterday, I ran into this person. And like a lot of Missoulians, it's been on my mind as I see an increasing number of Yellowstone fire and ice shoot sets in our city. And I just feel like my perception I'd like to offer you, because I feel it in a way ties into our housing crisis, both for renters and for new-time home buyers, just as a component, not certainly as the major cause. But it's nice. I'm happy for the businesses downtown that are gaining by all of the tourists that are coming for different reasons. And I attribute part of the tourist boom to Yellowstone, to this movie. And I know that, as I said, that there's a cost benefit analysis. Perhaps you've looked at that. I have no idea about your discussions, but this county commissioner, the question I asked him was, what's the process? How does the shoot begin? Does Fire and Ice, the production company, have to get a permit? Yes, was the answer. And depending on the property they're interested in using for their film set, they go to the county or the city. So I assume in the case of the city, there's a fee. I assume that you discuss it, or someone does in city staff, and money is exchanged. I know that when the courthouse was used earlier in the summer for a scene, that I assume went to the county for a permit. And I also know that the businesses across the street from the courthouse were handed a check for their inconvenience. Well, that's nice. I wondered if that check was also to buy their cooperation. But getting to the point, there have been scenes shot on East Main Street this summer. There was one done at the old school admin building on South 6 West. There's one going on right now at First Interstate Bank, as you know, which has tied up all the on-street free parking for bank customers. And I was talking with with an employee there at the bank recently, who felt really bad that they're developmentally disabled and they're disabled and handicapped people can no longer park there and have access. There's the parking lot down below, but there's steps for them. So it's an inconvenience. So there's been other scenes done, Beckwith and Gerald, about a month ago, and on and on. And I kind of see that the businesses are gaining with some revenue. The city gets some permit fees, the county gets some permit fees, but on the cost-benefit analysis, I see the overall average Missoulian losing, both in traffic congestion and inconvenience, and then with people just dazzled by this mythological film, Yellowstone, some of which want to move here and look for Kevin Costner fly fishing on horseback on the Bitterroot River. So, which is ridiculous. And I see they also invented a ninth a Native American tribe here in Montana too in the series. So that's all I have to say. And I would like to get with my representative, Amber, I will in the future, and perhaps you can enlighten me on what's been happening in the way of discussions internally with the council on this and how it's impacting, in my opinion, an overall net loss for Missoula, not a net gain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Bob.
Public comment.
Take that. Thanks, Bob. My name is Travis Mateer, and I just handed Bob, for the record, my business card because I've been writing about Yellowstone and the impacts, and Bob clearly doesn't know about my blog. So I'm going to tell Bob later about my blog. But today, the public comment I'd like to make is that on September 12th, which is today, we still don't know who was shot and killed out at the airport. So that was August 27th. We don't know what jurisdiction was involved. A lot of them were out there and present. We don't know which one fatally shot the individual. We don't know the name of the person. And I know that's maybe too far outside of the city limits, but as we reference pretty pictures on the website, and the reasons why people might see pretty pictures on movies and TV shows and want to come here. The reality is I went out there and actually saw the building I think this person was shot and killed in. Asked a few questions and continued to wonder why there isn't more answers to a officer-involved shooting on August 27th. And this was right before a Labor Day weekend. We have people flying in and flying out. We have students coming. And so I think there should be some more answers maybe coming. And as in regards to Yellowstone, I didn't even plan. This T-shirt was unplanned. This is in reference to the actual national park, not the show. Thank you.
About 30 seconds. I'm just here to advocate for Matt Sullivan and his wife Caroline. Matt over there. This is only the second time I've met him. I rent from him. I've been renting from them for about 1.5 years, and I just want to say that they are very communicative, responsive to everything. I know when people have grievances or problems, they're very vocal, and when people are happy or content, you don't hear from them. Everything goes smoothly. The place is beautiful, and if I've got a concern, a clogged drain, just right away, it's fixed. Like I said, I'll be really short because that's all I have to say. I'm very content and very happy. They've been great landlords.
Could you provide your name for the record, please?
My name is Tara Harrington.
Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else in the audience that wants to provide public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, then I'm going to go to our online people. We've got several with raised hands. And let's go to, there is someone with the last two digits of their phone number is 82. And if you're able to unmute yourself, you can provide public comment on items not on the agenda.
Hello.
Thanks. Could you just provide your name for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Alicia Goff.
Thanks. Go ahead, ma'am.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to speak up in regards to properties being developed near Front Street or on Front Street by Matt Sullivan. And I just wanted to second what the woman just spoke about before as far as what sort of a property manager he is, and also his wife, Caroline. I've rented from Matt and Caroline for 4 years, and they have been nothing but prompt, down to earth, just completely professional and responsible in every way. The property is maintained meticulously. And I feel really grateful to rent from them. I've rented from a lot of places in Missoula. I've lived here for over 40 years, and I work for a small locally owned business downtown. So I know Missoula and downtown really well. And, I'm just a regular Missoula gal, and they've just been really great to rent from. And I just really want to emphasize that any properties built in or around Missoula by them, I believe will add value to the community.
Thank you for your comment. And next I have someone named Christopher. If you can unmute yourself and provide your full name.
Hello, my name is Christopher Fuchs.
I can barely hear you. If you can speak up.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay,
Go ahead and
sorry.
provide your full name. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my name is Christopher Fuchs. I'm actually one of the residents at 333 East Front Street. And yeah, I just wanted to provide a comment as well. Obviously, we've heard about it already a few times, and obviously, I don't want to lose my place to live. I really like living there, and it's a bummer that it's gonna get redeveloped, but at the same time, it is an older building, and I do think that a new property there would add value to downtown Missoula. Obviously, it's hard because I do really like living there, but the whole time I've lived there, I've had a affordable place to live, really well below the market value for a one-bedroom apartment, and it is something that I'm appreciative to have had. But then again, the fact that it's on a month-to-month lease, that's something that is my own doing and something that I knew from the beginning. To be frank, I didn't know until earlier this year that it was going to be redeveloped, but at the same time, like, I am okay with it, even though it will displace me. So in general, yeah, I do think that gentrification in Missoula is something that obviously needs to be addressed, and obviously something that the city is thinking about, hopefully. And yeah, but I don't think that stopping, older buildings from being torn down and new things being built is really the way to go about it. So yeah, thanks for your time. It's unfortunate, but I think that it would be a good thing in the long run and for Missoula in general for the property to be redeveloped. So thanks for your time.
Great, thank you for your comment. Okay, is there any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to go, wait, we've got one more hand up. Hang on a second. All right, okay, it's in Chinese characters, so I cannot read the name, but if you are able to unmute yourself and provide comment, we would love to hear your comment. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you could just provide your name for the record and go ahead and give your public comment then.
Okay. Hi, konnichiwa. I'm Japanese. My name is Chizuko Olson. I'm living MCMB Property Management, Matt and Caroline Place apartment. Hickory Street, 205 Hickory Street. They are really great property management company. I used a couple property management before, and it was difficult sometimes. Talk about some problem fixing. It took so long time and stuff, but Matt and then Caroline, if I ask something, they immediately do something for us. So kind, so honest. So we are so happy living here. So they are great company, I think. Thank you so much. I only wanted to tell that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks for your comment. Okay, see no other public comment. We're going to go on with our agenda items. And the next thing is for the city clerk to announce the committee meetings. So Marty, if you can go through the committee meetings for this week.
I'm happy to do that. And I just share the committee schedule so everyone else can follow along who's watching outside. All right. We're looking at committees for the 14th of September. That's this coming Wednesday. We do have our meetings on Teams. You can also attend in person. The Budget and Finance Committee will meet from 8:55 in the morning to 9:20 in the morning. They'll be taking up an appointment to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee and agreement for some software that the city uses for permitting and an engagement letter for attorney for some tax increment financing bonds. The Public Works and Mobility Committee will meet from 9:35 in the morning to 10:05. They'll be taking up an appointment to the Parking Commission. They'll be talking about 2 noise variances, one for night work on the Orange Street underpass and the other for work on Beckwith Avenue. And they'll also be taking up a professional services agreement with Morrison Merrily for the Kelly Island lift station rehabilitation. Folks, a lift station is facility of your water resource recovery plant or your wastewater treatment plant here in the city. The Climate Conservation and Parks Committee will meet from 10:20 in the morning to 10:35 on 3 matters related to Red Fern Park. They're going to talk about infrastructure improvements, the restoration contract award, and the playground installation at Red Fern Park. Public Safety, Health, and Operations Committee will meet at 10:50 to 11:30. They will be taking up the Edward Byrne Justice Assistant Grant for 2022 and an MOU, that is city speak for a memorandum of understanding. And they will also be taking up the purchase of 9 Ford Interceptor utility vehicles for the police department and the pre-trial support program. And finally, the Housing Redevelopment and Community Program Committee will meet from 10:30 to 1:15. They will be taking up a subrecipient agreement with Montana Department of Commerce for NeighborWorks Montana, and also the Operation Shelter interlocal agreement with Missoula County.
Thank you. And it's, I think, Housing Redevelopment and Communities 12:30 to 1:15.
If I misspoke, yes, 12:30 to 1:15 in the afternoon.
Thank you. All righty. So moving on to our consent agenda, items on the consent agenda were approved by council committees to be placed on the consent agenda to save time at council meetings by voting on them as a package. The city clerk will read the list aloud, so citizens watching on MCAT will know what is on the consent agenda, and we'll invite community comment on these items before we vote. Marty, if you could please go through the consent agenda.
Yes, tonight's consent agenda, I think, has 7 items. Let me look down here. Yeah, it does. It has 7 items. And just a moment, and I will share my screen, and y'all can follow along. Go right there. All right. Item number 1 on the consent agenda tonight is to ratify accounts payable in the amount of $1,064,274. 274, well, sorry. Something does not look right about that number. I'm going to come back to that, but I think that there's an extra number here, so I'll let you know when I have a chance to correct this. But I believe it's $1,064,274 and probably 15 cents or 12 cents. For checks dated September 6, 2022. Item number 2 is to approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,853,390.82 for checks that are dated tomorrow, which is September 13th, 2022. Number 3 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an amendment with Montech for $37,500 to help support the Women's Business Center. Number 4 is to approve the police department's purchase of a 2016 utility vehicle for the special teams unit at a cost of $77,000. Number 5 is to set a public hearing for September 26, 2022 to consider a resolution regarding proposed creation of a Missoula local government building special district. Number 6 is to approve the mayor to sign a grant agreement with the U.S. Economic Development Administration to accept $1,220,304 in federal grant funds to build a sustainable and accessible river access in Curis Park in downtown Missoula. And the final item tonight is to approve and authorize the acting mayor to sign a construction agreement with Western Interstate for the deconstruction of 1359 West Broadway at a cost not to exceed $74,815.
Thank you, Marty. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda from anyone in the audience? Seeing none, I've got a hand raised virtually. Matt, do you want to go ahead and provide your name and public comment on the consent agenda?
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. I'm commenting on the utility vehicle for the police department. We just did budgeting. The police budget is the largest section of the budget, so just wondering why we get strapped with these extra presents for the police department instead of just rolling them into the budget like every other department. Just wondering why we need this utility vehicle. what's so special about it, why they can't use the ambulance that they normally use, and why they need this $77,000 new toy. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. And any other public comment on the consent agenda? Then does anyone want to separate the question? Ms. Vasile?
I would like to separate 5.3 and vote on that separately, and may I speak to it?
Go ahead.
I think that the Women's Business Center is an amazing opportunity for women of all ages who have the entrepreneurial spirit and who want to enter owning their own business. However, there has been a lack of women in small business before the pandemic, so I think that this is an appropriate use of the ARPA funds, but I do support it. I just disagree with the funding mechanism.
Thank you. Any other counselor? So this is to separate the question? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I'd like to separate item 5.2. Could I speak to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, item 5.2 is just the accounts payable, the city paying our bills, and I just no longer feel comfortable even paying the bill for Rogers International out of our ARPA funds. The ARPA funds were used to help relieve people from the pandemic and the economic impacts of that. And after seeing Rogers International cover their faces while they go to tear down shelters at the authorized campsite and watching them patrol around the neighborhoods to do armed patrols, I just think is not right to come from the private sector. And I don't think it's right for it to come from our pandemic relief funds. And at this point, after them covering their faces while they do their work, I don't even feel comfortable voting for them in the claims. And since there's $30,000 in this claims for 5.2, I'm not going to vote for that today.
Any other counselors on separating the question? All right, then Marty, will you please do roll call vote separating 5.2 and 5.3 out separately?
I'm happy to do that. And I do have clarification on that item number 1. It is $1,064,274.15. We had an extra number there. So I will fix that on the action summary.
Thanks. And actually, I have a hand up here from a counselor, so just a minute.
Okay.
We'll get to the roll call vote in a second then. Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Acting Mayor Jones, I don't have a division of the question. I just would like to comment on the consent agenda as a whole and point out the fact that the utility vehicle that we are purchasing for the police department was discussed in committee, and this is an item that has already been budgeted. It actually was budgeted in the previous council budget from a year plus ago, and the department just had a really hard time finding a vehicle that fit its specs as well as within the cost allotted within the budget. And currently they are utilizing a trailer and they're using it with Public Works. And so depending on whose day it is to use the trailer, equipment has to be unloaded and offloaded. And that is probably not best practices for either department. So that is the context behind that item on the agenda tonight.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, Marty, if you can go forward with the roll call vote with those items separated out. Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's do a vote on 5.2 first. That's the set of claims. Hang on just a second here. Something's up. Here we go. All right, let's start the vote with Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Carlino.
No.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Gordon.
No.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Masika.
To clarify, this is just 5.2.
This is just 5.2, yes.
Yes.
And West.
Yes.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 10 ayes and 2 nays. Let's move on to item 3, which is the Women's Business Center Agreement. And we'll start this round with Becerra.
Yes.
Carlino.
Yes.
Apologies. Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
No.
West.
Yes.
And Anderson.
Yes.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote on that one? It's 11 ayes and 1 nay. And then let's do the vote on items 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sorry, the air quality is getting me. Carlino.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Becerra.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 12 ayes.
Thank you. Item number 6, I believe we have no comments from city staff, city agencies, city community forum, neighborhood councils, boards, commissions, or authorities. Number 7 on our agenda is special presentations and proclamations. And we do have one today regarding Constitution Day and Constitution Week, which I will read. This proclamation states, whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to give official recognition to this document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Gwen Jones, acting mayor of the city of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the 17th day of September as Constitution Day and the 17th of September through the 23rd of September as Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and to reflect on the privilege of being an American, with all of the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause a great seal of the city of Missoula in the state of Montana to be affixed on this 17th day of September in the year 2022, and it is signed by me. So celebrate the Constitution this week, folks. In the meantime, we're going to go on with our agenda. We have no items for final consideration. We do have one public hearing tonight. It is a public forum for the Missoula County Pallet Shelter to be located at 2340 Mullen Road. And I believe that we have Madsen Matthias here to present on that. Are you with us, Madsen?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. All right, can I get confirmation you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh,
Whoop, it went away.
I meant to hide it and instead I stopped sharing. Easy mistake. Hide. Okay, perfect.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So my name is Madsen Matthias. I am an associate planner in community planning, development, and innovation. Earlier this summer, the city of Missoula received notice from WGM Group on behalf of Missoula County of their intent to provide temporary and emergency amenities for dwelling, storage, and sanitation at their site located at 2340 Mullen Road. That site currently contains the county detention facility. Another term for this project is TSOS or TSOS, which is short for Temporary Safe Outdoor Space. So I am here today speaking on this item because this section of Title 20 Zoning Code allows government agencies to use public land contrary to local zoning. Missoula County is a local government agency proposing to use public land contrary to local zoning. And when an event like this happens, a public hearing is required. Not for council to deny or condition the proposal, but for public comment to have a platform to be heard. So backing up a little bit before going into the proposal itself, the role of this TSOS shelter is to add to the continuum of legal shelters already present in Missoula. These are comprised of the Poverello Center, the YWCA, and Family Promise. The goal is to have the TSOS operational before winter 2022 kicks in. An important aspect about these shelters is that they are legal, they are staffed, they're secure sites, they have appropriate resources, including social services, and in the absence of appropriate, attainable, safe housing for a population facing significant barriers to housing, the TSOS is a safe alternative to illegal camps or having people camp in neighborhoods or live in their cars. The TSOS is not proposed with the intent of solving homelessness, but rather an effort to advance the goals of reaching home, Missoula's 10-year plan to end homelessness. So the Missoula County TSOS will be located at 2340 Mullen Road. That is west of West Broadway, south of Palmer Street, and north of the river. The shelter site is zoned M1R-2, that's limited industrial residential. Parcels located to the east and west of the subject parcel have the same zoning. Parcels to the north and south of the subject property are zoned C14 neighborhood commercial, C24 community commercial, and M12 limited industrial. The shelter's land use designation from the growth policy is regional commercial and services. The intent of this designation is to accommodate commercial and industrial uses with extensive land use needs, such as outdoor storage of merchandise, support services for automobile sales and manufacturing, or regional transit and highway-related operations. As such, residential space should not necessarily be a primary use, but is encouraged as a part of a broad range of mixed uses so long as there are support services within a quarter mile of the development. The land use designations surrounding the subject property similarly include regional commercial and services, community mixed use, and neighborhood mixed use. The actual land uses surrounding the site include medical offices, parking lots, light equipment vehicle sales and rentals, general offices, and a multi-dwelling building. These uses are compatible with the land use designation outlined in the growth policy. This is an aerial view of the existing site. The location of the shelter will be in this northeast section of the parcel, also northeast of the county detention center in what is currently a vacant part of the parcel. So here is the proposed location of the shelter. It will front West Broadway. Access to the site will primarily be from West Broadway. The only vehicle access will be from a service road connected to West Broadway. This can be seen towards the top of the image here. The vehicular use area on site provides for 24 parking spaces and will be paved with asphalt. Pedestrians may access the site from West Broadway up in the northeast or from the pedestrian connection and gate down in the southeastern corner of the site. These pedestrian connections will be constructed of concrete and in some places gravel. The county's strategy with this project is to provide a temporary safe outdoor space for unhoused residents. The proposed structures consist of 30 short-term living units, 1 office building, and 2 restroom buildings. Each of the short-term living units is 100 square feet in area, contains a lockable door, storage shelves, windows, and up to 4 sleeping units. Each restroom building is 120 square feet and contains 3 bathroom stations. Each station will have a sink, a toilet, and a shower. One of the stations in each restroom building will contain a urinal, and the other one, another one will be ADA compliant. Additionally, the large office building contains 4 offices, 2 kitchens, 2 bedrooms with 4 beds each, 3 bathrooms, air conditioning, laundry facilities, and a dining room. And then an additional container for general storage will also be located on site. This is not currently reflected on the site plan shown. The county's proposal considers buffering, design, and landscaping requirements applicable in Title 20. The site plan proposed includes general site landscaping nearly 3 times more than what is required by zoning code, though in regards to buffering, screening, and other vehicle screening landscaping requirements, much of what existing will remain, including the bordering chain link fence and trees, and these will be supplemented by new shrubs, new turf grass, and a new vinyl fence along West Broadway. So when zoning staff are determining a project's compliance with Title 20 zoning code, we must assign a use classification to a project, starting with the categories, the overarching categories such as residential, commercial, civic, and narrowing down to identify the specific use type proposed. This is a necessary process to determine which regulations apply to a project and where it is allowed. So this proposal from the county straddles the lines between 3 distinct uses. Temporary uses, clearly defined as temporal, having a clear end date. Group living, residential use of a house other than a more traditional family unit or household with communal dining. And an emergency homeless shelter, which is explicitly defined as a day-by-day use. So once staff determine the use category for a project and all applicable regulations, we ensure that applicants are compliant with the Title 20 regulations and with all of them that apply. So this project, comprising the 3 uses, has been reviewed for compliance with all requirements associated with temporary, group living, and emergency homeless shelter uses, including both use-specific and applicable general landscaping and parking requirements. The proposal was reviewed by CPDI staff in spring 2022 and was found to mostly comply with all applicable regulations in Title 20, apart from these 10 requirements, or these 10 deviations. The reason that we are here at this public forum, these are the requirements that are not being met. So for deviation number 1, emergency shelters are required to have a storage locker per bed. This proposal gives individual storage space per bed, but not necessarily an individual personal locker. For deviations 2 and 3, temporary uses have a 90-day limit, and applicants are required to clearly define the length of time over which they intend to operate. This proposal intends to operate year-round. For deviation number 4, long-term bike storage must be substantially protected through the Title 20 design and location requirements, and this proposal will locate long-term bike parking in a storage container and cannot ensure compliance with all of the design and location requirements. And then the remaining deviations, number 5 through 10, are all related to landscaping requirements. First is providing landscape islands within a parking lot. These have been omitted in favor of the pedestrian connection at the southeast corner of the site. For deviations 6 and 10, Title 20 does not find chain link to be a suitable material for meeting landscape buffer or general design requirements. As such, the chain link proposed is non-compliant. Deviations 7 and 8 refer to screening requirements for both mechanical equipment and storage containers. This proposal will not comply with those. And then deviation number 9 is in reference to a maximum of 50% mineral mulch in the total mulch used on site. And this proposal will exceed that maximum. So when staff review for compliance of a proposal and run into these types of requested deviations, there are sometimes options in Title 20 for alternative compliance. Otherwise, an applicant must strictly comply with the requirements of the code. So for those deviations 1 through 3, staff would report to an applicant that no variations or alterations to the strict compliance with the code is permitted. For deviations to parking requirements, an applicant could choose to apply for an administrative adjustment, and deviations to landscaping is allowed through alternative compliance in a design review board hearing or review and getting a stamp by a Montana State certified landscape architect. However, in this case, Missoula County is considered a government agency, thus through Title 20, may be exempt from local zoning requirements by way of this public forum. So at this time, staff does not have a recommended motion as no action is required. City staff and Missoula County representatives are available for any questions council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madsen. Are there any questions from council? Heidi.
I have a very minor and aesthetic question, I guess. I really appreciate all the landscaping and the buffering that's in the site design, and I assume that there's adequate irrigation to support that. Do you know?
That is a great question. I cannot speak to the installation and maintenance that was not provided, but it looks like Kate and Chris, they are both the representatives from the county, have their hand raised to answer that.
Hi, this is Kate Dinsmore with WGM Group, and there will be an irrigation system installed with the landscaping.
Thank you. Ms. Becerra?
Thank you. Madsen, could you go over the access to the property, and is it going to be off of West Broadway, or could you repeat that for us, please?
Absolutely. So the vehicular access, the only car access will be off of West Broadway. It's currently, if you drive past it on West Broadway, it's very grassy and it's right in between two vehicle sales lots. So it's not something that I think immediately you can picture where they'd be driving in, but that's where that access would be off of. There's also a pedestrian connection there, and then internal to the site with the county detention center, there will be a pedestrian access in what's more of a southeast section of that kind of panhandle part.
May I have a follow-up?
Go ahead.
How will the left-hand turn be managed in that area? Because it's tricky as it is.
That is an excellent question. I do not have an immediate answer to. I know that and I can pull them up if you give me just a moment, but I know that the engineering comments in the staff report, I have been told by Troy Monroe, the engineer, the head engineer, that those are going to be the only standards that this project will be held to. So I can look in there very quickly and see if there's anything, but otherwise I'd have to follow up after the meeting.
That's okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions from council? Let me just check online. Any public comment on this item? State your name and keep to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Hunt. I live at 308 Parkside Lane. I didn't plan to speak on this, but I just wanted people to take note that as far as pedestrian access, anything that's gravel is really unfriendly to people with disabilities. That would include people even with my disability. I mean, someone's going to fall and get hurt. It's also not friendly to persons in wheelchairs. And I think that should be taken note of. Just because the government may be exempt from some of these, I don't know about that one. I think that's a very poor idea. The other thing is there may be people who don't regularly attend or watch these meetings who are interested tonight because of the mayor selection item, and they may have raised their eyebrows when they heard it stated that the purpose of this is not to help end homelessness, but to promote the 10-year plan to end homelessness. And I'd just like to be sure people understand something most people don't know. We're now in year 11 of the 10-year plan to end homelessness, and the 10-year plan to end homelessness does not actually intend to end homelessness. Its goal is to achieve net zero. Net zero is to ensure that for every person who is housed, who becomes unhoused, someone who's unhoused is re-entered into housing. This is, in my view, akin to having a swimming pool and instructing the lifeguards that their mission is to ensure that for every child who is saved, only one child drowns. And I think that's a terrible goal, but we've never met it. We've never come close to meeting it. And I hope that that gets addressed by the next administration. So that's all I wanted to say, just because I'm sure some people were confused by that statement, and it's because we use Orwellian euphemisms when we name these programs. And so now people, I hope, will know why that sounded a little funny. Thank you.
My name is Travis Mateer, and I just wanted to state that I think there are unidentified beneficiaries of providing these deviations. The previous owner of the land of the TSOS, that land was used as a leverage for the development of Larchmont Golf Course. And so I think there are some larger questions to be asking as we look at changing the TSOS from one location to another. And we are saying that this development can happen without some of the ridiculous requirements that are outlined, in terms of landscaping. So as we're giving deviations and special considerations that benefit developers like WGM, that's a familiar story for people paying attention. I think more questions need to be asked about who benefits from the private sector to free up land to develop things like the golf course. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Tegan Avery. Nice to see you all again. And I just want to make public comment to make sure that the Missoula Housing Authority and Homeward are coordinating with this ballot shelter, seeing as how the Trinity Mullen site is right there. And also that Providence Healthcare, which will be providing services at that Trinity Mullen site, is brought in to understand the implications for the services that they will be providing within months as that site comes online. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brandy Atanasoff, and I've been monitoring the homeless situation for a couple of years now. There are things that I think that we overlook because we just love everybody so much in this town, and we want to love everybody so much and not pay attention to the things that make us feel not great. So in November of last year, on the City of Missoula's Facebook page, someone invited the militia or attempted to coordinate inviting militia to take care of the homeless situation. So when this happened, I went out onto the streets and into the camps and started talking to people. And what I found were people that were getting their bus tickets paid for at this exact moment, and other people talking about running into people getting their bus tickets to get paid for to come here because we're funding to take care of homeless people. So I know that some of you are not a big fan of funding the police and funding the people that the police use for security, but if the militia comes, are you going to stand there and walk through this with the homeless people if you're not going to fund the police? If you are not going to walk next to the people that protect this city while you spend money, well, the entire population of Missoula is asking you not to. If you look at public comments on everything out there right now, people are saying stop spending money. What's going to happen when someone gets pissed? Are you supporting the people that protect you when you're making these choices? So when you think about this, how much is it going to cost for security, and are you going to support the security, or are you going to stand there yourself and make sure that the militia does not come in between some crazy man and you and the people that you love so much? That's all I have.
Any other public comment on this item? If so, come up and state your name. 3 minutes, please.
My name's Gail Tykert. I live in the Clark Fork Commons there at Broadway and Russell. I go off and down Mullen Road to access Reserve Street, so I know where we're talking. I have a concern that this place is got 24-hour supervision of one kind or another. None of that was brought up about how it's being supervised, who is supervising it, that this place is run not only for the city of Missoula, but for the people who are going to be in it. I object to a giant parking lot with cartons brought in for people to live in. We have the most beautiful campground in Montana in the KOA, and they can have paved roads, and you can have disability access from various living quarters onto pavement, but you can have ground that water will seep into, not run off of. So while I don't care about how many trees are hiding a chain link fence, I do care that this might be a giant blacktop for some boxes. The boxes I can't argue with if they're decent, they're clean, and they're well taken care of. The other thing is, I kind of agree with both the last two ladies. Number one, there's St. Pat's, there's the grocery stores, there's Poverello, and there's all the action along the river there where the California Street Bridge is. The California Street Bridge is looking pretty raggedy right now. So I don't know what the plans are for making sure that this stays the important transportation and safe part of the city that it is, because I walk that path almost every day, as do many of the handicapped that are in the housing developments along that river. And I warn us all of creating ghettos when we don't have to. 40 years ago, approximately, or 35 to 40 years ago, I was working on Missoula neighborhoods and informing them, and I was sent to a big meeting over on the West Coast about how low-income, no-income housing, how can we do it? How can we keep our cities viable and beautiful? And I think we have to keep that in mind. We don't just make something that is to warehouse something. We make something beautiful. So if these people are going to live there, let's make sure that it stays well taken care of, that when they step out their door, they don't groan because they're on a black top that's soaking up heat all day, and they don't have a piece of ground to sit on. Because it's a long walk for somebody who's tired and hungry to just walk over to the river and take a look at it from that particular place. There is nothing beautiful in that particular place unless you count the new housing development going in right next to them. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Anyone else?
Thanks so much. My name is Maggie Bornstein for the record. I wanted to say that I think this is a fantastic project and a wonderful thing. Just this past weekend, Daniel and I went to Portland, Oregon, and there is a really large crisis of unsheltered homelessness and people living, very visibly and publicly homeless, which I'm a nerd. I wanted to dig more into maybe why that was. We listened to local news and a lot of the advocacy groups there. Often there were these pods and shelter beds that were going unutilized in Portland every night while thousands of people slept on the streets. And it felt like elected officials there were really struggling to understand how that could be. And I think that the city is partnering with folks like Homeward and the POV in this. And I think that something that all of you laud about our city programs that I think are so great is that they are really bang for our buck, that we do get really great utilization out of the money that we put towards the programs that we have. And I would just emphasize those partnerships and continuing to try to be as data-driven as possible, because we know that there are other places where they develop these really wonderful resources, but they're not alongside local groups and they're not data and research driven. And so they don't work to the extent that they really could if communities really invest in data and research like that. So I would just really promote you doing that. I think that happens a lot in the city, that there's a lot of research happening, but just to do more and more of it so that we get the best resources in our community as possible. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment on this item? All right, thank you, Madsen, for the presentation, and we've got the public record. So think you can go forward with the next process. All right, we have no other public hearings tonight. Thought you wanted some. Would you like to, we can have council comments. All right, hang on a second. Let's back up and go back to our public forum for the Missoula County Pallet Shelter. We are not, it's not an action item tonight, but yes, if you would like to comment, go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the county for, I think, coming up with a very creative solution. And I also want to thank the owner of the land that has been used for this site. I do think that this site will have a lot more services for people, and its location is, I think, a lot easier for folks to get to, especially if they don't have reliable transportation. And I also want to thank, I think, the close coordination with the Trinity site. We had the opportunity to tour that site, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and this was brought up as a very intentional, I guess, partnership. Yeah, I think it's a great use of this land and space. And also it's been a great success. Lots of people using the site have been permanently housed and transitioned to even more secure housing.
Great, thanks. Any other councilor want to comment? Mr. Carlino?
Yeah, although this isn't up for a city council vote, I do think it's a positive step forward. You know, if we're not providing housing, we're paying for homeless services through police response, through fire department response, through ambulance response, through paying for jails, paying for all these other things, and when we could have just paid for housing.
Any other councilors? All right, I will just add that the temporary safe outdoor shelter that this is based upon, that will be the continuation of that, has been a really constructive situation that has helped people get stabilized, get things in order so that they can become employed and get housing in the long run. And it's a very structured environment to help people move forward, and it's been very successful. So I'm looking forward to this continuing on. All right, seeing no other comments from council, we have no committee reports. Under new business, we have city council appointment to fill a mayor vacancy. And I've got a few comments and then we'll get started with the process. First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge that what we're doing tonight is appointing a mayor to take over after we had John Engen for 17 plus years, who was a fantastic mayor who did a heck of a lot in this town. He had many accomplishments. He has a lot of initiatives still at play that are going forward, that are going to need a lot of hard work and energy to go forward, and I hope that's what happens. But tonight, we are taking our next steps to moving forward without John. And I want to do this in his spirit of community service and love for this city. So I have no doubt we're going to wind up with a great mayor who will be next. And that's what we're going to do tonight. I have some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters who ran the interviewing process, which was last Wednesday. Or was it before that? My time is off, but the League of Women Voters ran the interviews and it went really smoothly and was a very productive day, so I appreciate that. I want to thank our city clerk's office. There have been a huge amount of hours behind the scenes to set up this process, and because of their incredible attention to detail and issue spotting, it has gone very smoothly. So it may look normal from the outside, but I want to acknowledge all of the work that went on behind the scenes to make sure that this complicated process that is very, very important to our community ran smoothly. So thank you, Marty, Claire, and Megan. And finally, thank you to all who have applied. It was a complicated application, and I know it took a lot of work. I read all of them. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up to do this for your community. In terms of the process tonight, we are first going to take nominations from city councilors from those who were interviewed. And they will put those whoever's nominated, their names will go on the floor. Then we'll take public comment, and then we will have council comment and then vote. We will vote until we get someone has 7 votes. They have to have 7 votes in order to be appointed mayor. If we have 2 successive identical votes, then we can open up that are in a row. We can open it up to nominations from the community, and then we will again take public comment and have council comment before voting. I think that covers it. Before going to public comment, I'll provide a few more items, but for now, I will open it up to nominations from council who want to put names on the floor. Ms. Vasika.
I guess I'll go first, everybody. This has been the toughest decision that I have faced since in my tenure on council. There were so many great applicants, and I wanted to thank everybody who did put their name in to lead Missoula, our beautiful city. I never thought that I would nominate the person that I'm not going to nominate, but I would like to nominate Jordan Hess today. I disagree with Jordan on many things. We have had a lot of discussions and disagreements, but we've had really meaningful and thoughtful discussions as well. We found common ground on some issues, and I would like to explore that further. I need to think about what's best for Missoula in this really difficult transition, and I really need to honor the will of the voters. Last year, the voters did choose the late John Engen to lead them and to lead all of us, and it shouldn't be up to us 12 to take away that will of the voters. Jordan is the closest person, I think, of the candidates that will carry on Engen's vision. And I think it will be the smoothest transition for city staff and for all of us councilors and for all of the constituents of the city. I really look forward.
Actually, Ms. Vasika, we're just doing nominations. We're going to do council comments later.
Almost done.
Okay. just hold some in advance.
Good to know. That's why I go first. I really look forward to the democratic process next year and for shaking things up. But for now, it's not that time to shake things up, and I am happy to put Jordan forward. Done.
Okay. Nominations, just to put the name on the floor. Ms. Savage.
There's a lot going on over here with all the computers. I nominate Mike Nugent.
Okay, thank you. Other nominations? Mr. Carlin.
I'll nominate Fred Rice.
Okay. Other nominations? Let me check online. All right, any other hands for nominations? So at this point, we have 3 names on the table: Jordan Hess, Mike Nugent, Fred Rice. Any other nominations? Want to make sure I capture everyone. Okay, we will go to public comment then on these 3 nominees. I want to just tell everyone that we do have rules of decorum. We ask that people keep it professional, that there be no personal attacks, that it is professional in tone, and no dismissive language, anything like that. I don't anticipate that, but I just want to say this now so that I don't have to call a point of order on anyone, okay? So having said that, if there's any public comment on these nominations, please come forward and state your name and keep it to 3 minutes if possible.
My name is Bob Lucino. In the late 80s and early 90s, I had the honor to fill out the remainder of Dan Kemmis's term, who represented Ward 3. I lived in Ward 3 for 25 years on Brook Street, owned a home. And so I had the pleasure of working with Fred. And I would like to support Fred. I would like to speak for Fred. My experience with Fred Rice back then was that he really works hard. He's really well informed. He really pays attention to detail. Back in the day, on Friday afternoons, we would come down to City Hall and receive our packet, which was a combination of all the committee reports, staff reports, everything that was going on that week and prior. Sometimes they could be this thick. I believe Fred read every single word of those. And if he were on the council today, he would be very busy on the laptop. What I think Fred brings, and what I think Missoula really needs, the ideal person would be somebody certainly to carry on the vision of John Engen, and I have no doubt there with Fred. Secondly, someone who brings continuity and history to this position. And Fred certainly brings that. Fred intimately knows the workings of city government and how it's set up. He knows how city staff works. He knows the relationship of city staff to council, to the executive, to the courts, to the judicial. And he understands his community. I think also perhaps among some Missoulians, I think by having Fred be our next mayor, and a mayor who's a caretaker, but a mayor also in terms of the remainder of John Engen's term, but a mayor who's not going to sit still, who will be busy and who will be progressive. He's the best of all possible worlds. And the last thing I want to say, which I just alluded to but didn't fill out, is that I think by having Fred and choosing Fred Rice as our next mayor, the council will remove any possible feelings or opinions in the community that, you know, of sort of, I don't know any other way to put it, and I apologize if it seems curt, but I think, let me put it this way, I think it would maximize the objectivity of your decision by bringing Fred on as mayor rather than somebody from the council itself actively. There's just no question in my mind, and others I've spoken to who have lived here for a long time, that Fred would be a great choice. So I encourage you to vote for Fred tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Public comment?
Hello, my name's Kevin Hutz, 308 Parkside Lane. I know I already sent you 7 pages in an email, but which I hope you had a chance to look at, but I have some comments tonight. I also speak in support of Fred Rice. I did some research before I came down here, and I found that out of the 56 mayors Missoula's had, the average tenure was 2 years, 3 months, and 21 days. The shortest, John Patterson, is 7 days, and the longest, Mayor Engen, is 17 years. And these long tenures are a relatively new phenomenon. Mayor Kemmis had 80 months. The next Mayor Katis had 112 months, and Mayor Engen 199. Also, going along with that has been a progressive movement of the plenary authority of the city government from the council to the mayor, and that just is a natural function of having someone in office that long. It happened under FDR also. So what Fred Rice has said he would do is he's going to give this council an opportunity to reclaim what the charter says you're supposed to do. And by doing that, here's one thing that'll happen. It's going to create a level playing field when the elections do roll around, because none of you will have an advantage. None of you will go in there with the advantage of having been appointed tonight. And this way, there's an opportunity then, with the resumption of council plenary authority, for those who want to replace Fred when he is finished in 2025, which he says he will not serve past. This will be your opportunity to demonstrate your leadership, not because you were appointed tonight, but because you innovate and you exert that leadership over the next 16 months and perhaps beyond, and then you will earn the vote of the people, and this will be how we move forward. There's a tendency when we suffer a loss to just reach for what's familiar. That's just normal, and it's human nature. But You know, if you're waiting for like a Messiah to come here and lead us out of the wilderness, I remind you what Eugene Debs said. He said, I wouldn't lead you out of the wilderness even if I could, because anyone who could lead you out can just as easily lead you right back in. I could tell you that while he's mayor, Fred Rice has assured me he is going to he's going to endorse using evidence-based metrics to look at what we're doing now, to make sure that it's effective and efficient. Because if it isn't, we're spending money and we're not getting to what Mayor Engen had as a vision for this city. We can't afford it anymore with less than $1 million in reserves. He does support continuation of the Mobile Crisis Response Unit, and he is pledged to seek implementation of alternatives to private police and police response for most city interactions with unhoused persons, including in the camps. So for those reasons, I'm imploring you, it's probably now an uphill battle, but I'm imploring you to please consider how important it is that there's legitimization, massive community support. The two leading candidates, two of the candidates who are from this council are both eminently qualified, would make wonderful mayors, but none of them and none of you have served under anybody but John Engen. Mr. Rice has served under or with 5 mayors, and he isn't just running on his past, because if we just did that, the pages would be really long of what he accomplished in a much less progressive atmosphere than we have now. And what it shows you, though, is he's capable of getting things done, and he will do them if he's selected. And so I just urge you, make a level playing field for the next election. Take back the authority you have to lead and innovate. And those of you who want to be the next mayor, take this opportunity to demonstrate that leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, Brandy Atanisov again. I don't know if any of you remember why Mayor Engen was passionate about why he was passionate about it. This started over a decade ago when Stone Container closed and we were out of jobs. There were no jobs in Missoula. And this man's fire came from finding jobs for the people that carry this city. This man's fire, everything you're looking to support has to do with people carrying this city, being able to keep carrying this city. And there have been a lot of people that have been trying to voice their opinion to you lately, and there are issues with the communication structure of the city currently. I was on Community Forum, and not one of you were on Community Forum, and that is the bridge. Our last Community Forum had none of the representatives there. People are trying to get your attention right now. And why are they trying to get your attention? You all know we're addressing homelessness because why? We're afraid that someday that's going to be our kids on the street because we are pricing them out. There are things that need adequate solutions. There are things that need to be seen correctly. And John Engen's mission, John Engen's big, huge thing he did came from the love of the people that carry this city. And so I think both men have served our council well, but I think that our city needs a pause. And Fred Rice, he said he's going to give that to us. Our city needs a moment to breathe in, regroup, and shoulder to shoulder this, not create teams and divide. So I think that I believe that Fred Rice is the best candidate for us to pause, really understand what makes the city the most beautiful thing that it is, and honor what gave John the gumption to create such a beautiful picture. What started this? The people that carry our city. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's Lucy Bigley. And I know most of you, and I am fortunate enough that I could call many of you my friends. I was John Engen's partner for the last 6 years. And I am standing before you today asking for you to vote for Jordan Hess for mayor. First and foremost, Jordan is unequivocally the most qualified candidate in the pool. Not only has Jordan been on council for 9 years, he's also chaired numerous committees during his tenure, including land use and planning and public works, but you know that from his resume. Jordan met with John on a weekly basis since the day he was first elected to council, and the two of them discussed policy, strategy, and the nuts and bolts of how to get this work done. Jordan is intimately aware of John's vision for the city of Missoula, and he will be able to carry that out with continuity and be able to hit the ground running. Being the mayor of the city of Missoula is an incredibly complicated job. I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you that fact. And no other candidate comes close to having the understanding of the complexities of the position. Do any others have the capacity to in the future? Maybe, probably. I don't know the answer to that, and I would respectfully suggest that none of you do either, as none of the other candidates have enough comparable experience to know, and Jordan does. In the past month, I've heard it mentioned many times that no one likes to speak after John. He was a tough act to follow. But I've also noticed that Jordan has the same quality. In city council meetings, time and time again, Jordan has been able to take complex issues and eloquently get to the crux of the matter at hand with an elegant, compassionate, and respectful solution. He's often the last to speak as he sums it up so succinctly, and people sit up and pay attention when he speaks. And if anyone's thinking that they haven't seen me at city council meetings, it's because I'm one of the ones on the MCAT feeding my children dinner and taking care of the dogs in the background. John had an endless amount of respect for Jordan. He thought Jordan was usually the smartest person in the room, but he had the humility that he never felt the need to prove it. John talked about Jordan's ability to take complex issues and distill them down into manageable and actionable bits. He thought Jordan was wise, compassionate, reasonable, and fair. Jordan is also not afraid to make difficult decisions, no matter how unpopular that decision may be. Had Jordan expressed to John his desire to be mayor, John would have supported it 100%, and this I know. Circumstances were such that this conversation never happened, but I can assure you that John would have supported Jordan in this endeavor. Would he have had trepidation for his friend, as it takes incredibly thick skin to do this job? Absolutely. People can be assholes. John would never say that, but I'm saying it. But that would have been the case with anyone. He would have been concerned for anyone. None of us wanted to be in this situation. It's brutally sad, and it's understandably hard on the city council, and all the employees of the city and the mayor's office. And a decision has to be made before I'm sure many of you feel emotionally ready to make that decision. But we unfortunately have been dealt the cards we have, and I ask that you make the decision that is best for the city and all those involved. And Jordan Hess is the right choice.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Come on up. State your name, please.
My name is Travis Mateer. Of the three candidates, I think the two names that are most familiar are going to have the biggest challenge. In part, that's because of the last few years and how tax increment financing has been utilized to continue hyper-developing our community, our town. No, wait, city, our city. Fred Rice is an interesting choice, one I hadn't even considered seriously until this evening. But I also think the 80s are the last time the Missoula Redevelopment Agency had a compelling argument for tax increment financing. And also the 1980s are pretty cool with the Stranger Things. It's a cool show. And there's a lot of cool like 80s colors coming back. And so maybe it's hip again. I don't know. Maybe old is new. I don't know. But I think you should definitely seriously consider Fred Rice as someone that could maybe go back and say, hey, do we need tax increment financing to give $100,000 for a facade improvement on Higgins? Do we need it to create a communication plan that created some really cool graphics? But beyond that, I'm still not convinced that tax increment financing is a tool you guys need to use in the ways that you're using it currently. So I think Fred Rice is a compelling choice. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Good evening.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Bob Moore. I hate to say that I really don't know too much about two of the people. I do know about Mr. Hess. In my opinion, Mr. Hess is far, far, far too liberal to be running this city. Our taxes are going up. One lady is talking about what a good job we're doing. Our taxes are going up like crazy. Crime is going up. You want to see how the homeless problem has been solved after 2 years of the past mayor? Drive down Broadway Street or several other streets. Just drive down them. Go in here right now and go look on the sidewalk and see what you see. On Higgins, on other streets. Go on down a little bit further and you just see just horrible, horrible living conditions. Horrible. Mr. Hess has been a strong proponent of these kind of decisions. $5 million for a stupid bridge across Reserve. $10 million, these are round numbers. $10 million to help the owners of a shopping center. $3 or $4 million to the big bank here. $3 or $4 million to a hotel. And yet all these people are pitiful laying on the street. Mr. Hess has been a proponent of that way of where we have gotten today. Mr. Ramos, you all know him, wrote an article to the paper. Good reason, the city of Missoula just passed a historic tax increase of nearly 12%. 12%. In the middle of an inflationary spiral that was last reported at 8.6%. Of course, Trump gets blamed for that, but Trump's not to blame. Some Republicans are looking at ways to give relief to the citizens of Montana. This is Jesse. After serving on the city council for 4 years, I can say that Missoula does not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. Pretty soon, I'm going to be joining the homeless, I think. The budget since 2007 has grown 64% faster than its own economy. 64% more. How much is enough? The city of Missoula received over $14 million in the last round of federal COVID assistance alone. Yet we're always broke and we always got to raise the taxes. The taxes, and I don't really know what's going on with the police, that we've hired some non-policemen to do their job. But whatever it is, it's not good. Elected officials need, and whoever it is elected, this to mayor, elected officials need to understand that the most compassionate thing they can do to help those struggling in their communities is to say no. To say no. If the Marriott Corporation needs to get money for their hotel moved in here on a franchise basis.
We're at 4 minutes, Mr. Moore.
Okay.
Yep.
Say no to bonds at the ice rink at the fairground. Say no to big corporations that come to the city with their hands out. And say no to increasing fines that have the largest impact in the lowest income earners. Okay, here's what he is saying, not me. I hope the local mayors, county commissioners, and city councils follow the lead of the governor and the state legislature by treating taxpayer money with the care it deserves. Y'all's, especially the liberal side of the council, thinks the only main objective is to spend money. We need to stop spending so much money. And Mr. Hess is guilty of spending that I know about. Of the other two, I would go for Fred. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Public comment?
Thank you. My name is Derek Goldman, and I live in Ward 4. I've known Jordan Hess for most of the 2 decades I've lived in Missoula. He's an upstanding guy, as you know, very humble, personable, and a straight shooter. He shares the community values of many of us, and he's dedicated his time on council all these years to implement these values and put them into action. He's been a leader in many of the biggest achievements the city has ever made over the years, and his length of experience working in council and with staff is his greatest asset in the moment. This is a difficult time for many Missoulians. Over the past few weeks, it's been hard for me to imagine a Missoula without John Engen in it, and I imagine that all of you and many Missoulians in our community feel that same way. At the same time, the community has been experiencing real stress over the past few years as Missoula rapidly grows and changes, intensified by the pandemic. And I think John's passing may only amplify the anxiety, the stress, and the sense of loss that many Missoulians feel right now. And with that context, I think that the most important job that this council has today is to pick someone with a steady hand who can instill confidence in the community and among city staff. The transition from John's leadership of the city and its departments happens in the most smooth, seamless, and competent way possible. Not only do I think Jordan Hess is the best of these candidates to do that, but I think he's in fact the only candidate who can. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? I've got some people online, so I'll go to them. Matt, if you can unmute yourself and state your full name for the record.
Yeah, this is Matt Larson, Ward 3. Personally, I just don't think that we should have anyone in the mayor's seat that has fiduciary responsibilities to other organizations, such as a few of the candidates do, or at least one of the candidates do. So I would suggest that we vote for anyone who does not have fiduciary responsibilities to other organizations, such as MOR and realty organizations. Thank you.
Right, and next we have Diane Stensland Bickers. If you can unmute yourself, Diane, and provide public comment.
Yeah, I'd like to endorse what everybody else has said about Jordan being the best guy for mayor for our city at this time. I've watched him for years now, as long as we've been able to watch him on Zoom anyway, in all the meetings he's been able to attend, which is every meeting that the man can attend, he does attend. And as many people have said, he's eloquent as a speaker. He knows what he's talking about. He doesn't miss a chance to inform us when we need to be informed. He always knows what he's talking about. He's the best guy to lead us at this time. He's best for the city. He's best for the city staff. Everything anybody who's endorsed him has said about him is true. I think he's the best man for the job at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment. Oh, one more. Come on up, Jim.
Thank you. Jim Sayer, proud resident of Ward 3. And I sent an email to council earlier on behalf of Jordan, but I did want to say to Mike Nugent that I actually read all the applications and went to all the interviews for the position, and I really appreciated everything that you put into your application, for the city's future. But I've known Jordan for, about 15 years, and we met through a small group of people that really like to talk a lot about transportation and land use over at Food for Thought. And it was a fun Friday morning group. We just got together, and at the time, when I met Jordan, I was really impressed, but it was mostly through conversation. And when he decided to run for council, I was like, wow, really? And especially Ward 2. And somebody earlier said they thought he was too liberal or that he wasn't necessarily the right person to lead this city. But if you can do what Jordan has done in terms of representing Ward 2, which I think is the most politically diverse ward in the city, it stretches from the west side, which is more urban and is dealing with a lot of the center city issues, all the way to Grant Creek, out by the suburban areas at the airport. I think he's done a superb job. He's been elected and re-elected now twice from Ward 2. So I think he offers good leadership skills. Everything has been said about him that he knows the issues, and I can vouch for that too because he comes prepared to every meeting I've ever been to. So my strong endorsement for Jordan Hess. I think he's going to provide continuity, and I think at this time in the city's history, that's just what we need. Thanks.
Anyone else? Public comment? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Allie Harrison from Ward 3. I want to say thank you, Mr. Carlino, for your representation. I have been a lifelong City of Missoula resident, and I'm proud to be part of this amazing city. I've known Mr. Hess and Mr. Nugent for a very long time, and I say Godspeed to you both. I would say whomever is chosen as mayor next, remember to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. And please remember the least of these in our society. You represent the most vulnerable, and that is your #1 task. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, let me just double check online. Okay, we have Mr. Hertz, if you can unmute yourself and provide public comment. Adam? Adam Hertz, are you able to unmute yourself and provide public comment? Anyone else in the room while Mr. Hertz figures out his mic? All right. Mr. Hertz, are you able to unmute yourself and provide public comment? All right, we'll put you on hold and we'll take someone in the room for public comment. Come on up.
My name's Tyler Gernant, and I'm here today in support of Mike Nugent, and I know both Mike and Jordan, and have worked with both of them in my position at the county as the clerk and treasurer. I have respect for both of them, and I certainly respect that Jordan's experience on city council certainly gives him an insight into the city workings. I would respectfully suggest, however, that legislative experience, which is the equivalent of city council, is not the only kind of experience that is necessary for this job. In fact, oftentimes, I don't think legislative experience translates. Sometimes it does, but not always. Mike has a wealth of executive experience, and I think particularly as the city undergoes zoning and code reform, comprehensive code reform, having somebody with a strong executive background and somebody who has a deep knowledge in housing is going to be necessary, not just for developing and implementing the code, but also ensuring its success as we move forward into the future. And so I know Mike for many years. I think honestly, the way that I met him was kind of a weird, I was at an event with Senator Tester, and I was talking with Senator Tester, and as you know, most of you would know, Senator Tester has a way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room, which felt great until Mike walked in behind me, and I have never seen somebody bolt so fast from a conversation with me to go and talk to Mike Nugent. Which made me feel a little self-conscious, but it made me realize that Mike has a certain quality about him that I think is exemplified in his leadership. And that's the kind of quality that we need right now as Missoula embarks on a very difficult process. So I hope that you'll consider and not just consider, but vote for Mike during this process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the room? All right. Mr. Hertz, if you want to speak, if you want to raise your hand, we'll try again. Not seeing it. Yes. All right, we will try it again. And Marty, are you able to help Mr. Hertz unmute himself?
I can only disable the mic, and the other thing I can do is offer the phone number to use as an alternative, but maybe he's got his tech figured out. He has his hand raised again. I will put the phone number back up on the screen here momentarily.
All right. Give it another try, Mr. Hertz, if you're able to unmute yourself, or else call in. There's the phone number if you want to call in. Anyone else in the room in the meantime wants to provide public comment? I think I'm going to go forward with council comment, and Marty, if we do have Mr. Hertz call in, let me know and we'll go back to him for that. All right. Okay. Turning to council comment. If anyone from council wants to provide comment tonight, Mr. Curley.
Yeah, I guess I'll just start by saying what a strange process this is to pick the mayor, and frankly, undemocratic process compared to how we usually run elections in this country and state. And I'd be a strong advocate moving forward to ensure that we change the way that we do these appointment processes in the future. And I think in 2022 and beyond, we can do a special election or try and speed up this process to allow the voters to decide. But having 12 people decide who's going to be the next mayor of a city of over 80,000 people is just frankly not the most democratic way to do it. And I encourage our state government to look into changing this in the future. But I did nominate Fred Rice for the reason that, for many reasons, but I think it would be great to have a placeholder in the meantime until we can let the voters of Missoula decide on who our next mayor will be. I also know that Fred is a champion for bike and car and walkable transportation safety around town. And I think that's very something that we need a strong mayor on to help push MDT and to help get us to safer streets in the future. And I also know that Fred Rice is unafraid to do the kind of change that this moment is calling for. Right now with our climate crisis and housing crisis, there's no time to wait, and we're going to need to reach for bold change, and kind of goes along with the t-shirt I wore today to this meeting rather than dressing up. I thought I would go with possibly an activist shirt. It says, rapid, far-reaching, unprecedented change is needed in all aspects of society to prevent climate catastrophe. And I think the same is true with our housing crisis in Missoula. Without far-reaching, unprecedented, bold change in leadership, we're going to watch these housing prices soar and the rents, prices of rent soar in our town. And without that type of leadership that's going to reach far and be bold and be progressive on our climate crisis, we're going to be seeing more days like this in the future. We're going to be living in a Missoula, in a Montana that has a harsh winter and a harsh smoke season. And we're living in a time of the 6th mass extinction, where if we continue like this as a society, 75 to 90% of all life on Earth will go extinct. And we need to take rapid action to stop the climate crisis and the housing crisis. And out of the 6 applicants that we're left with, and with this very undemocratic process that we're left with, I'm going to cast my vote for Fred Rice.
Okay, I think Mr. Hertz is called in on the phone, so I've got a phone number here, ending in 1865, and if you're able to unmute yourself, we'll take your comment.
Thank you for putting up with my tech problems that would not let me unmute on Teams. This is Adam Hertz, and I wanted to call in and express my support for Mike Nugent. I've known Mike for about a decade and actually met him through my time serving on City Council. Mike always had a lot of positive feedback for me, and probably a lot more negative feedback than positive feedback, and that's what I appreciated about him. I had a lot to learn from Mike, and I found early on that he knew a lot about city government and there was a lot to learn from Mike. That was 10 years ago. I know that he's been following closely, despite being on council for a limited amount of time. I really think Mike's well prepared to run the city of Missoula and move it forward in a positive direction. Right now, Missoula is facing a housing crisis, and it's something that really is such an important crossroads for us. In 2017, in the state legislature, I carried a affordable housing study bill, and it actually died on the House floor with both parties killing it, saying that it was unnecessary. At that time, I'd had conversations with Mike, and Mike knew that we were facing a growing crisis that would eventually spill over to what it is today. I think he's the right person at the right time for a big, big problem that needs to be addressed. Right now, Missoula has such a massive housing shortage. Our development services department is broken. There's just not enough capacity to process permits and subdivisions and rezonings. And in 2015, when I was on city council, we unanimously adopted a new growth policy. It's a great growth policy. It focuses inward. It would result in more housing affordability, more housing equity, more density, and better environmental outcomes. And since then, council has not rezoned the city to match that growth policy. It's a big undertaking, and it's the kind of undertaking that would be very successful under Mike's leadership. It's an undertaking that should have happened years ago, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't, but now is the time. It's a bipartisan effort, and I know that Mike has the ability to be a bipartisan leader because I've seen it. Because Mike's a Democrat and I'm a Republican, and I know that he can bring us together to solve this crisis. And I think now is the time. It's not the time for a placeholder. We don't have another year to wait. We've waited too long. This needed to be done years ago. And I really, truly would implore you to support Mike. I think he's the right person for this job at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done with public comment, and we'll go back to council comments now, and Ms. Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks. And I appreciate, Daniel, your comments around this being a really weird process and honestly feeling not like a very democratic process. I know we have to do this. I'm very sad that we have to do this. And I as you said, I don't really like the process itself. But here we are. So I first want to thank everyone who applied for this position. I know a lot of work went into the applications. It was quite long if you read them, and also the interviews. This is a huge thing that we are tasked with doing today. I think history is likely going to reveal that this is one of the most important decisions that we make as a body. And I know that none of us on this council take it lightly. This is a time to appoint, I believe this is a time to appoint a candidate that we all believe is right for our community right now. Beyond that, I believe in the democratic process, and that next November, all the voters, and not just the 12 of us, will decide who our next mayor will be. When I started thinking about who from the applicant pool could step in the most seamlessly, this quickly, with the most experience to hit the ground running and keep our programs going, which is what I believe our city needs, it was Jordan. Well, Sandy and I disagree pretty regularly. I do agree with her comments about Jordan. His interview proved without a doubt to me that he understands and will implement the city's strategic policies without missing a beat. While I articulated most of my reasons when I nominated him for an interview, I think they're worth repeating here. Jordan has a deep and a full understanding of our policies, our departments, our funding, and our staff. He's been on council for 9 years, which is longer than any of us sitting here today. He was part of the development of many of the policies that we currently operate under. He has chaired our Land Use and Planning Committee, and if anyone has watched that, they are very technically challenging committees, and they have a lot of controversy. He has done this efficiently and effectively. He understands our statutory requirements and our restrictions. We have a lot of restrictions, as I think we say all the time, so it's very important that someone understand all of that. We all listen when he speaks. This is significant to me because none of the 12 of us sitting here are short on opinions and our willingness to share those openly. We're a group of strong-willed people and we all listen to him. There is absolutely no guarantee that who we will appoint will win the election next November, and that should not be a consideration. If the person we appoint does decide to run for mayor next year or not, it does not matter because that is not what we're tasked with at this time. We are tasked with putting in the most qualified and the best applicant we are able until the voters decide. I believe we have a moral obligation here, an obligation to our city, and an obligation to the democratic process. Our only task is to appoint the most qualified mayor until the voters decide next November. To me, that person is clearly Jordan.
Thank you. Other council comments? Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone who applied and everyone who went through the interview process. It is not easy. It's probably one of those interviews that you will never forget. I was appointed to this council and I have been in that position before. I also want to say that under normal circumstances, this would be a very difficult task. And these are not normal circumstances. We lost our mayor, we lost a friend, a colleague, and an exemplary public servant. So we're in this situation, which is extremely challenging. We had, this is a challenge that I believe needs to be met with dedication, commitment, compassion, experience, and dedication. And I believe Jordan Hess is that person to bring those attributes to the office of the mayor in a seamless way and carry us forward until Missoulians can decide who the mayor should be for the following cycle. So I completely agree, and I'm not going to be repetitive. I think my fellow council person, Ember Cheryl, said it very well. What we're faced with today is not to play political strategists. Our job is to provide Missoulians with a mayor that will be able to carry the duties of that office until Missoulians can vote their elected mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? All right. Let me check online in just a second. I don't want to miss any raised hands. Ms. West.
I've just been delaying as long as possible because these aren't fun comments to make. And I haven't prepared anything because I've been really struggling with, I guess, how to articulate my thoughts and probably more my feelings about having to make this decision. I also agree with everyone who said that this is an awful process. And I guess I agree with everything that has been said about Jordan. And one thing that was said to me earlier today is that we need Jordan to ensure that we have the best policy possible, which is actually what I've been struggling with, is that I feel like we can't lose Jordan from council because council is the policy making body of our city, and that we are undertaking a huge process of code reform, and I keep getting stuck on the 14 months of having a potential placeholder as a mayor, and that the possibility that we might lose Jordan's expertise after those 14 months. And so, and I actually don't think we can risk that. And I also think that as much as we all would like the
continuation of an existing administration. That's not what we have in front of us today. That that has changed irreparably. So I am going to support Mike Nugent for mayor. I have been so impressed in the last brief months that we have worked together, since he's a new council member, in his ability to really navigate maybe controversial and difficult decisions and really effectively communicate with people he disagrees with, to very effectively communicate what the accurate current decision space is under the rules that we currently operate under. I also know that he has had the opportunity to effectively collaborate across the state and to really advocate on behalf of Missoula in forums outside of this. And I also know that he is capable of managing large groups of people, which is what a mayor has to be able to do, along with policy work. So yeah, it's been a special kind of torture to think this over and lose sleep over it. Yeah, that's where I've landed. So,
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else on council? Ms. Savage?
Like Ms. West, I've been delaying as long as possible as well. And I fully agree with Ms. Cheryl and Mr. Carlino. This is an awkward and what feels like undemocratic process, and I wish we weren't in this position. I think I can probably speak for everyone on council when I say that we value Mike Nugent and we value Jordan Hess. And this is particularly difficult for a lot of us. I'm supporting Mike Nugent tonight because I think he's knowledgeable about the biggest thing that the city is facing right now, and that is housing. He has been on the Housing Authority Board. He is also on the board of the United Way. He loves Missoula, and he's shown us that over the years, and he shows us that every day. Whether it's at his own kids' sporting events or the multiple places where he shows up and volunteers and serves his time, and he's done that for many, many years in this community. I also think he's thoughtful. The thing that sort of has come up for me several times with Mike, having served with him in the last 8 months and having run with him last summer, is how thoughtful he is, and how thoughtful he has been and how inclusive he has been to members of this council and to members of this community. So I'll be voting for Mike tonight. And I don't ever want to do this again. This has been no fun. No.
All right. Any other comments? Ms. Vasika?
Since I said my comments at the wrong time earlier tonight, I just wanted to say that over the past month, I've had many sleepless nights, and I'm sure my husband will be very happy when this process is over, because I have not been on the phone this much my entire life. It's been a really interesting process and a really interesting past couple of weeks, really getting to know a lot of the folks that interviewed, and especially between Mike and Jordan. I've really gotten to know Mike really well over the past couple of weeks, and gotten to know Jordan a lot better since I've been on council with Jordan a lot longer than I have with Mike. But it's been wonderful having those discussions, and especially since it's not an ideal choice for me, seeing that we are on opposite sides of the political aisle. It's been extremely difficult. But at the end of the day, I do think that I'll be able to sleep at night deciding to carry on Engen's way, at least for the next year, until the next Democratic election. Then we can leave it up to the voters. And if Mike or Jordan do get moved on to mayor, I do hope that some folks in the community that align with my thinking would step up to replace them on council. But regardless if we have out of the 3 nominees, I think that Missoula will be in good hands. So that's my piece.
Right. Any other council comment? All right. We are concluded with council comment. I wanted to say thank you for all of the public comment and thank you for respecting the decorum. It's I appreciate that greatly. I think our next step is to go to a vote. So Marty, I'm going to have you explain. Oh, wait, just a second. Did we need a break? Okay. All right. We're good. It's all right. Let's recess for 10 minutes. All right, we'll recess for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to call us back into order. All right, so we have had nominations, public comment, and council comment. So Marty, if you want to explain how the voting will work with the graph that you have created, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Wonky processes call for a wonky spreadsheet, folks. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So I've developed a spreadsheet in order to tally the nominees. So we will go calling in alphabetical order each council member's name, and they will vote for one of the 3 nominees, Hess, Nugent, or Rice. In these little blocks, I can put an initial. And you can see that over here on the right, Hess, Nugent, and Rice, it shows that I've noted a vote for each. And I have a total vote tally here where it's counting. This area here where it says no right now will indicate whether somebody has greater than or equal to 7 votes, which means that we've selected a candidate. On the second row, there is a same as previous. And some of you may be aware that City Council has a rule that if we call the roll and the roll call vote is the same for 2 successive votes, then council can consider folks who are qualified to be mayor but may or may not have applied for the position. So this column over here, once we start voting, will indicate if we've hit that situation. When I call the roll, I will ask you to call the name. I'd love it if you could say the last name of the person that you're voting for. And I will tally along here. And if we don't have someone who reaches 7 votes, then we will start another round of voting until we do get someone to have 7 votes. So, are there any questions about that?
I see no questions out here on the floor, so I think we're ready to start, Marty.
Okay, let's get going then. Anderson.
And I really hate that I changed my last name. I'm voting for Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Would someone mind letting the person in the lobby into the meeting? Thank you. Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Jordan Hess.
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 Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
Nugent,
Nugent.
Savage,
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Hess.
Vasika,
Hess.
and West.
Nugent.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote? We have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, and 1 vote for Rice. We do not have any of the candidates receiving 7 votes, so we'll proceed to another round of voting. Hang on here. This time we start the roll call with Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Jordan Hess.
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 Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
And Anderson.
Rice.
Okay, we have 5 votes for Hess. Oh, I'm sorry. Would any of you like to change your vote? We have 5 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 2 votes for Rice. We still don't have 7. We don't have 2 successive roll call votes. We'll go another round. This time we start with Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Hess.
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 Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
And Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Okay, we have, would any of you like to change your votes? All right, we have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. Nobody has at least 7, and we don't have 2 successive roll call votes where the votes cast for the same. Let's go for another round. This time we start with Contos.
Hess.
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 Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
And Carlino.
Rice.
Okay. Would any of you like to change your vote? We have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. And it appears that we have 2 successive roll call votes where the votes were exactly the same. If council wishes to enter any additional names into nomination, you may do it now.
Anyone else want to add a name, Mr. Carlino?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Bob Giordano.
Okay, Bob Giordano is on the list. Anyone else? Ms. Anderson?
Point of clarification, do they have to accept the nomination that they are willing to be put into the position?
I do not believe that they have to accept it. If they aren't here, they can't say anything and they can be voted on.
Okay.
That's the way it rolls. Anyone else want to put any other names on the floor for nominations? Okay, so we need to open public comment back up to take more public comment. Does anyone want to provide additional public comment? If so, come up to the microphone and state your name. Seeing none, let me go to online and see if we have anyone raising their hand there. All right, we do not have any public comment. So Marty, we'll go back to voting if you've got that name entered appropriately, if need be.
I think I do. So I'll put in a G for Giordano. Hess.
Hess.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Giordano.
And Contos.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? Looks like somebody didn't tally. Hang on. Oh, there it went. Would any of you like to change your vote? We have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, and 1 vote for Giordano. Go another round. Jones. Oh,
We're gonna,
sorry.
Nugent.
Jordan. Kristen Jordan.
Sorry, Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Nugent.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Price.
Contos.
Yes.
And Hess.
Hess.
Would any of you like to change your vote? We have 5 votes for Hess, 6 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice.
All right, in just a second, Marty, did you have a point of order or?
Yeah, I wanted to change my vote.
Okay, we do have a vote change. Did you hear that, Marty?
Yes.
Ms. Vasika?
Vasika?
I'm sorry, I calculated wrong. I'm going to keep it where I'm at.
Okay. Another round.
Well, okay, just a second,
And
Marty.
now I have a question.
All right, Marty, we're going to just take a second here. We've got some questions.
I was just wondering if we could do a council debate or talk about this.
Nope,
Council comments?
these are not, that's not per our rules. I'm sorry. We'll take a recess periodically and people can chat then, but no, we need to follow our process. And Ms. Vasika, do you have a question?
Yes, so we need to get 2 rounds of the exact same votes of 7 votes per, okay, I need that
So
clarified.
2 identical votes that are the same. So in other words, everyone votes the same on the same people in a row, and then we open it up to nominations from the community, but we only do that one time, and we did that already. So we're back to just voting, straight voting at this point. All right? Ms. Cheryl?
I'm not sure if this was her question. We only need 1 round of any one of the candidates getting to 7 to make an appointment.
Correct. Yes, okay. All right, back to you, Marty. Go ahead. I think Marty's getting queued up, so go ahead if you have a question, if I can answer it.
I think I think we both have the same question. In the situation that we've already had 2 identical rounds of votes that no one got to 7, it was opened up for additional nominations, which Daniel obviously made. That remains open for the remainder of our debate, or is it just right after for that 1 round?
That was it one time through.
Okay.
That's my understanding, and Jim Nugent can correct me, but that was my understanding from having prepped for this scenario tonight.
So just so I can be really clear on this, if we have 2 votes that are exactly the same, then we have 1 round that you can put someone else's name into the hat, I guess, and then they will stay as a potential candidate, just like Bob has stayed as a potential candidate. Is that correct?
Correct. They are still on the table.
But then no one else can be nominated until we have the next exact same vote twice.
Nope. It only happens once, and we did it.
If
That's
it
my
happens
understanding.
again, it's not open
Okay,
for any.
so hang on a second. Mr. Nugent, the city attorney can clarify this, but from my questioning of Mr. Nugent earlier this week, and last week actually, it can happen once, and we've done that. All right, Marty, are you ready for another round of voting?
Madam Chair, or Acting Mayor, I would actually really like for either for him to join us or email, because that is not my understanding. I thought it was opened up anytime there was 2 successive votes, not just once per the entire voting, like, evening, God willing, almost over, but.
Let's go for a couple more rounds of voting, and then we'll take a recess if we have not had 7 votes for anyone, and we can clarify that with Mr. Nugent in the interim. That is my understanding, but if I need to be corrected, so be it. So Marty, let's continue voting.
Point of order, I'm uncomfortable moving forward until we hear from the attorney.
Mr. Nugent, are you on the line, and can you speak to this? Do you understand the question? Jim?
Yeah, yes, I'm here, and your rules, your city council rules do not really get that specific and address it. Under your rules, if you have an interpretation question, you're supposed to adjourn to the Administration Finance Committee, which I guess is now the Budget and Finance Committee, and talk amongst yourself and resolve how you want to interpret that. But really, you don't get into that kind of detail in your rules at this point in time. Your rules can always be revised in the future, but probably the most appropriate thing to do now is to take a brief recess and talk about it in your Budget and Finance Committee as to how the council wants to interpret that current rule.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Mr. Nugent?
If we go 2 consecutive and the votes are the same,
can somebody make a motion to suspend the rules? And with 2/3 of the council, can we suspend the rules?
I believe we can.
Okay, I'm just looking,
Yes.
because I feel like people are looking for a solution, so.
Mr.
Yes,
Okay,
we
yes.
talked
So
about
we-
that previously, and that is one of the options.
Okay, Ms. Anderson.
Point of clarification, are within suspending the rules, are we able to say what we're suspending the rules to do and allow, or is it just then a free for all because we've suspended the rules?
No, we have to make a motion to suspend the rules with a specific intent, is my understanding. We don't just get rid of all of our rules. Okay.
Correct.
Checking.
All right. I'm just trying to think of the best way forward here. I would entertain a motion. We have to move this forward in the most constructive way possible. I am hesitant to recess and convene budget and administration to have the same, or budget and finance to have the very same conversation and have us go in circles. I think it would be constructive to entertain a motion from someone who would be wanting to suspend the rules with a specific proposal as to whether or not we can, every single time there are two identical votes in a row, nominate through the floor again, or if it is one and done. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Does that appear to be the fastest way forward? Ms. Cheryl, you had a comment.
Ms. Amber, that sounds very
Ms. Amber.
southern. I think I would like to make a motion that we clarify, suspend, whatever we want to call it, and that we have the ability to, every time we have a tie vote, we have the ability to add a new candidate.
All right. That motion is in order. We will take public comment on that motion.
When those of us in the virtual meeting are not hearing Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. I'm sorry, repeat yourself.
It would seem easiest to just dissolve into budget and finance, interpret the rule, then come back, you don't have to even get out of your seats, and then resolve back into the council and continue on that basis. But you can't suspend a rule when you don't know what it means, what it is. If you say, I'm moving to suspend the rules in order that you're suspending something you haven't stated what it even is. Can't do that.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment?
Grant here. I just first want to say thanks to everybody for taking this matter very seriously. We've got a lot of important issues in the community and very much appreciate moving this forward quickly, knowing that there's a heavy statutory deadline. I guess reading the room and the folks at the table, it seemed that the prevailing understanding going into this vote may have been that people believed if two votes were cast the same way consecutively, it was possible to add names from the floor. So it might behoove the group to suspend the rules so that they allow for that to move forward, as was what appears to be the prevailing expectation of people who seem surprised by the current situation.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? Mr. Larson. You can unmute yourself, Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I think we should move forward and allow the public to nominate more people each round, as I think that's kind of the consensus everybody has here, and it's the most constructive use of time here.
Okay. Any other public comment? Seeing none, any other council comment on this item? Is Vasika, your hand is up? Is that from previously? Okay. Any other council comment? Mr. Carlino?
I just wanted to clarify the motion. You said if there's a tie vote, because we technically haven't had any tie votes. So I just wondering what the exact motion is right now.
Let me rephrase. Well, do you want to state your motion?
My motion was that if we again have 2 consecutive voting rounds that are exactly the same as we did when you nominated Bob, that we allow for additional nominations. And at that same time, we can suspend our rules and decide to suspend the rules by 2/3 vote. I'm not really voting. I appreciate I'm not really suggesting that we suspend the rules right now. I think we need to clarify the rules because I think it was our belief going into it that ability to add a nominee did not stop on the first round. So I want a clarification, not necessarily a suspension.
So your motion is to suspend the rules to clarify that we can indeed continue to do this with 2 identical votes in a row.
If that's what we need to do, yes.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Ms. West?
Because I disagree with the interpretation that that I guess that only one time that opportunity only I guess happens one time in this process. The language says new nominations may not be made unless there have been 2 successive roll call votes wherein the votes cast were identical each time. It doesn't specify that only happens once, and it is in the plural, new nominations. So that is the language that we're looking at.
All right. Ms. Cheryl?
Upon reading that, I think you're correct. And when it says each time, I think that's another important piece of that language. So I'm going to retract my motion because I do not believe it's needed.
All right, Mr. Hess.
Thanks. Rule 8 is regarding interpretation of our rules, and you have authority as presiding officer to interpret the rules. And if there's a disagreement over those interpretations, that's when we go to the Budget and Finance Committee. I just wanted to highlight that for you.
All right. So having discussed this with staff earlier in the last week, my understanding was we could only have 1, but upon hearing the rules we articulated tonight, I think it is fine to have every time we have 2 identical votes in a row, open it up to nominations. So as presiding officer, I will state that. All right, so we have, back to you, Marty, we have had 2 identical votes. Is that correct in the last 2 go-rounds? All right, then we need to continue voting.
Yes. Hang on just a moment. Let me share.
I have a chart in front of me to refer to, so.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, thank you.
So we've only hit that the one time. And the last vote, here's the last vote, round of voting. This line 18. All right, we're on line 19, and we'll start this round with Jordan. Kristen.
Nugent. Sorry, Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Okay. And I think we have votes that went the same. No, we don't. Would any of you like to change your vote? Okay, we have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. Nugent.
Nugent.
Savage,
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Bazika,
Yes.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Hess.
Becerra,
Hess.
Carlino,
Giordano.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Nugent.
Jordan,
Nugent.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote? I have 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Giordano. We don't have anybody who's hit 7, and that roll call vote was not the same as the previous vote. Here we go. Start this round with Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Fasika,
Hess.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Hess.
Becerra,
Hess.
Carlino,
Rice.
Contos. I'm sorry, Contos.
Yes.
There we go. Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Nugent.
Jordan,
Nugent.
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 Okay, would any of you like to change your vote? 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. Nobody's got 7. The vote is not the same as the last vote. Ready for another round?
Yes.
All right, Hess. I'm sorry, Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Hess.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Hess.
Becerra,
Hess.
Carlino,
Rice.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Nugent.
Jordan,
Nugent.
Nugent,
Nugent.
Savage.
Nugent.
Okay, would any of you like to change your vote? That's 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We've just had 2 successive roll call votes where the votes were the same.
Madam Chair, may we please have a recess?
All right, so we have had 2 roll call votes in a row that are the same. So we will open it up again to nominations to the floor, but we will take a 15-minute recess in the meantime. Okay. Let's go forward with voting. If Mr. O'Connor is able to call in, we'll take his public comment down the road.
Ah, here we have a phone call.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Are you able to let them in, Marty?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I've lost track of which number it is that came in, but I'm going to unmute phone number with the last digits 151.
If the last digits of your phone number are 151, if you can unmute yourself to provide public comment. Are you able to?
I did not want to provide public comment, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, we're trying here. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay.
We do have a raised hand now.
Okay, now we've got public comment for phone number ending in 9263. And if you're able to unmute yourself and provide public comment. Marty, I think they just disappeared.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes.
Are you?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Just provide your
awesome,
name, please, and then public
My name is
comment.
last name Durnell. I'm also here with Melissa Gluckert, last name Glueckert. We're both constituents from Ward 3. We've been watching some of the council meeting tonight, just with interest for the mayoral candidate. And I would not advise that. We both know Tegan Avery as an individual. She's wonderful, lovely. But we wouldn't advise that she be selected in this recall of voters, because it's been very frustrating watching the vote between Jordan Hess and Mike Nugent, and the deciding vote has been on Daniel Carlino. And I want to make it public that I emailed Daniel this morning as a constituent, letting him know that me and many of my peers in Ward 3 were worried that he would be supporting third-party candidates, and we asked him to vote and support Jordan Hess. So it is just frustrating to know that this kind of conversation has gone on. I don't think this is the city council that Missoula wants representing them, or the people that they want, or the behavior that they want in deciding a mayor, because it's really important to us. So really, that's all I wanted to say. I hope that you'll reconsider, and that when we go back to a vote, it'll be a 7-5 vote for Jordan Hess for mayor. And I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you for your comment. All right, I don't see any other raised hands for public comment, so we will continue voting, Marty.
Okay, so our current nominations are Hess, Nugent, Rice, Giordano, and Avery. Start this round with Vasika.
Hess.
West.
He's coming.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Avery.
Contos.
Hess.
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 Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
And Cheryl.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure why we're adding up to 13 here, but I have 12 votes.
Interesting.
Would any of you like to change your vote? It is 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Avery.
Marty, if you can scroll the screen up a little bit, there's a bar, so it's very hard to see the votes as they come in because the bar tends to cover it. Just saying.
Okay. All right, I'm going to scroll up just a little. Let's go another round.
We're not seeing your screen though.
That's okay. I am not sharing it.
Okay.
I was fixing a couple things. Hang on. Here we go. All right, another round. This one starts with West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Basika.
Hess.
Okay, would any of you like to change your vote? There's 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. Back to Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Avery.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Basika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Okay. Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 6 votes for Hess, 1 vote for Nugent, and 1 vote for Avery. Next round. Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Would any of you like to change your vote? There's 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. Carlino.
Rice.
Hess.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Contos.
Yes.
Now Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote? It is 6 votes for Hess, 1 vote for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We've had 2 successive roll call votes where the votes cast are exactly the same.
We can open this up to nominations. Any nominations from council? Seeing none, we'll go forward with voting. Sure, Kristen.
Contos.
Hess.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Rice.
Okay, we've had another successive roll call vote where the votes are the same.
Are there anyone want to nominate anyone else? Seeing none, we'll keep voting.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika. West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
More debate, please, but Rice.
Contos.
Hess.
Would any of you like to change your vote? There are 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We've had another roll call vote where the votes are the same.
Anyone want to add another nomination? Seeing none, we'll keep voting.
Jones.
Nugent. We're not
Jordan.
seeing your screen, Marty, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Okay, so Jordan.
Nugent.
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 Savage.
Nugent.
Cheryl.
Hess.
Vasika.
Hess.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Hess.
Becerra.
Hess.
Carlino.
Rice.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? votes, 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We've had another successive roll call vote where the votes are the same.
Do we have any nominations from the floor?
I don't have a nomination, but I would like to vote to suspend the rules.
You can make a motion.
I would like to move that we allow, I don't know if this is a suspension of the rule or not, that we allow for further debate about the candidates.
So that motion is to suspend the rules to allow for further council comments. I believe that is in order. Do we have public comment on that motion?
If not, it's really Parkside Lane. I just wanted to make note of a couple things. The city attorney gave a legal opinion on interpretation of a rule that affected a candidate who happens to be his son. I think that is improper, okay? I'm very concerned that some citizen, when you're all done here, is going to try to judicially challenge what you're doing. They probably won't be successful. I don't think this is what you want. And I believe that 2 of you had pledged to a candidate, and we're sticking to that pledge you made to a former mayor, and that mayor's trying to reach you now, I understand, urging you to switch your votes to someone else. And that's all I have to say.
My name is Travis Mateer, and I'd like to make a public comment. I really wish this could have been avoided. I think there was an opportunity when our mayor had a terminal diagnosis for there to be a more streamlined process if that person would have been more I think, open about the fact that staying in office till the very bitter end is why we are here. And I don't want to see any frustration directed at maybe one member of city council who is using the process that we have at hand to have a conversation tonight about who is going to be the placeholder for our city in this critical time. There could have been more preparation for this transition, but this is the process we have. It looks like a pretty messy process, and I think we'll ensure that this will not be a process used again moving forward, because this is really not instilling a lot of confidence in citizens, I think, moving forward. And all the investments that are going to be coming. You guys want to make sure that there's consistency. I think we were really hoping there was going to be more consistency tonight for all those investments coming. I hope they don't get nervous about investing in this great city. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment on motion to suspend the rules to have more council comment? I'm seeing nothing online. Oh, we have someone's hand raised. Their phone number ending in 8395. If you would like to give public comment, go ahead. If you're able to unmute yourself and provide public comment. Not hearing anything, so we're not able to take your public comment. Okay, any council comment on the motion that is in front of us? Seeing none, if we want to suspend the rules, we have to have a 2/3 vote. And let's have that vote, Marty, and then we can open it up to council comment. All right, if you can take the vote, Marty.
Point of order, Marty, that individual's, I'm sorry.
Are they back? All right, just a second. We're going to try and take this public comment.
Star 6 to unmute.
Are you able to unmute yourself to provide public comment?
Hello. So this is Jacob Elder. Mr. Hunt, what Mr. Hunt?
Unmute yourself and provide public comment.
Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you. Just provide your public comment, please, on the motion to
Okay.
suspend
Gwen, can you hear me?
rules to speak to provide more council comments.
Yes, we can hear you. If you've got the meeting playing in the background, though, it'd be very helpful to mute that while you're talking to us, because we do have an echo coming through, Mr. Elder.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead and
Okay.
provide public
So
comment.
should I go ahead?
Yes, you should.
Okay, so Mr. Hunt pointed out Mr. Hunt pointed out a good point there. Look, we're sitting here talking about. Hello.
All right, Mr. Elder, just keep talking and provide your public comment. We're trying to listen.
Okay. Right. So we're going to sit here and accept potential nepotism in our small community. When you look at all the candidates up there, I think Jordan Hess is a better candidate than
Mr. Elder, we're just taking public. I'm sorry to cut you off. We're only taking public comment on the motion to suspend the rules to provide more counsel.
Look, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Hunt came out there.
So I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Hunt came out there.
That's what you can provide public comment on.
So you let Mr. Hunt talk about what he wanted to talk about. This is important. I don't believe that we should go ahead and pick a mic here. This is just not okay.
All right. Thank you for your comment.
And lastly, what we talk about that JEDOT plan. How does JEDOT represent any of the people up here? Just think about it. You have your diversity candidates.
All right, Mr. Hunt, or I'm sorry, Mr. Elder.
You have your diversity candidates.
Taking public comment on the item in front of us. All right, Marty, we're going to go forward with the vote on the motion to suspend the rules to provide more council comment.
Okay, I've pretty much lost track of where we are with the roll call in the regular set of things, but I think we were somewhere around Mr. Contos on the motion to suspend the rules to allow more debate.
Yes.
Hess on the motion.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
Anderson. Oh, I'm sorry, West.
Yes.
Now Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra
Yes.
and Carlino.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to suspend the rules to allow more debate passes.
All right. Anyone that wants to provide more debate, please raise your hand. Mr. Carlino.
I just want to say it's a false choice to say that I'm the only swing vote here. There's 6 people that could come over and vote for Hess, or there's 6 people that could come over and vote for Nugent, or there's 11 people that could come over and vote for Rice or Giordano or Avery. So there's many options that could happen, or we could nominate somebody new that we could all agree on. It's not up to me. It's up to all 12 of us or 7 of us to agree. And again, this just shows how undemocratic this process is and how this is not a good process to appoint people. And I hope that we can get this changed at a state level as soon as possible.
Anyone else wanting to provide comment? Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. I agree. I think we all agree that this is a less than ideal process. None of us want to be in this situation for a variety of reasons, all of which have been stated. But unfortunately, this is the rules and that we have been dealt and the process that is set forth in front of us. And as we have all, and myself included, many times stated our frustration with the decision-making box that we were given. This is another example to chalk up to that list, but it is the process, and we do need to move forward with selecting the next mayor, to move forward with the business of the city. And there does seem to be a consensus amongst 2 candidates. And so I'm not quite sure what end game or result is hoped for as we continue to do multiple rounds of this style of voting.
Any other comments from council? Ms. Vasik.
This process is way less than ideal, but this is the process that's in front of us. So I do agree with Daniel. It's not up to just Daniel, it's up to all of us. And as you saw in the budget meeting, I'm prepared to be here until the wee hours of the morning. So until we can all come to a decision. So
Any other comments? All right, then we'll keep going with the vote.
Okay, everyone, just a reminder, current nominees are Hess, Nugent, Bryce, Giordano, and Avery. We start this round of voting with Jordan. Kristen, Jordan,
Shoot, I'm sorry. Nugent.
Nugent,
Nugent.
Savage,
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika,
Yes.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Bryce.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Okay, that is, I'm sorry. Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We have had another successive roll call vote where the votes are exactly the same, and new nominations would be in order.
Are there any new nominations from council? Seeing none, we'll continue voting.
Okay, Nugent,
Nugent.
Savage,
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika,
Yes.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Bryce.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Nugent.
and Jordan.
Nugent.
Okay, we've had 2 successive roll call votes where the votes are exactly the same. New nominations are in order.
Any new nominations from council? Seeing none, we'll have another roll call vote.
Okay, Savage,
Nugent.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika,
Yes.
West,
Nugent.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Bryce.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Nugent.
Jordan,
Nugent.
and Nugent.
Nugent.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 6 votes for Hess, 5 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice. We've had another successive roll call vote where the votes are the same and new nominations are in order.
Any new nominations from council? Seeing none, we will take a 15-minute recess and come back and continue voting. Let me know when you're ready, Marty.
Ready.
Okay, we are back in session, and Mr. Nugent, you wanted to comment?
Yeah. You know, first of all, sorry for the recess. You know, there are people in the world that you respect, and there are people who maybe look out for their self-interests, and they do things for the right reasons, the wrong reasons. And, you know, I love Missoula. I love this community. And what's happening tonight and what the messages and what's going on, both supportive and not supportive. You know, I mean, it's kind of like the best and the worst of Missoula, all in one. And the unfortunate thing is, you know, I respect Jordan so much. And, you know, he and I have been talking for a while, and we've been talking about this process for a long time. And I think the funny thing is that Jordan's the damn reason I ran. He talked me into this before he decided to do it himself. And so here we are. And, you know, I've lived here my whole life and I love this community, and I know Jordan does too. So it's like, it's not about, you know, who's better or anything like that. And I've really loved parts of this process. All the people from the community who've reached out and talked about all Missoula can be, you know, not just who we are, but who we can be. And I think that some people tonight have made a mockery of council. They've made a mockery of what Missoula can be. They've made a mockery of, you know, this process under guises of being led by other people. And it's not just one. There's probably 3 or 4. And I think that's unfortunate. Because I think you all deserve better. And, you know, I don't think that anybody intended in the state law to have, you know, 2 guys standing in an alley at 10:30. I guess it's 11. Sorry, that recess was a lot longer than I thought. You know, trying to figure out what to do. And I'm sorry I'm getting emotional about this, but, you know, politics, I think Jordan likes to say this, politics is a blood sport. And it's terrible when it's a blood sport when the people you're going against you respect. And so to see us just go round and round and to have everybody dug in, you know, that's not what Missoula wants. It's not what this community wants. And, you know, I have such respect for the people who have been positive, who have reached out to Jordan and myself and have been supportive about, you know, hey, Jordan, I like Mike, but I'm supporting you and here's why, or vice versa. And I think that's what we should celebrate, you know? And I think that yeah, this isn't a perfect process, but it's, you know, it's the process that we have. And, you know, this was the opportunity for people who wanted to be mayor to participate and to join. And, you know, in my life, I didn't think that I would be asking the community to believe in me 9 months into my first term. Like, John England wasn't supposed to get cancer. This wasn't supposed to happen this way. And I think that, you know, a lot of people have struggled with this, and it's got emotional. And I think that there are some of us who have handled it, and I think we can be proud of the conversations we've had, and that there are others who I think, it's just unfortunate. And that's not just on council, that's some of the games that have been played on the other side, and how this all has kind of played out. And I value every one of my council colleagues who was, willing to have the conversation, those who voted for me and those who didn't. I mean, I've been telling Miracle all night that we're going to be friends on the other side, and we are. But we're going to go round in circles, and everybody who's voted for me has told me they'll stick with me, and everybody who's voted for Jordan has told Jordan they'll stick with him. We're both getting all kinds of calls from our supporters in the community saying, don't back down. But here we are. And I think that, we need to have a mayor, we need to have a leader. And part of that is being willing to say, now's maybe not the time. And, there's no guarantees, there's no promises. I don't know what happens next. But I don't want this to go on. I love Missoula too much. Obviously, I'm a child of public servants, and I'm proud of that. My grandfather served on this council. So, third generation, we're raising our kids here. And this town, this is a special place. And it's not just special in the way that we all say our towns are special, but it really is. We have a good thing going on. And I think that if there's anything this process has told me that I've discussed with Councilman Hess in the dark alley, it's that there's a lot of people that don't feel heard, and they're worried that something's being pulled over on them, or there's issues that we on council don't understand. And the other thing that I think is pretty clear is council, we live in a bubble. Like, I think sometimes we think we don't, but we do. And I think that we can be better at representing our community as a whole, and understanding those other voices, and not just dismissing people because they don't agree with us. And, that's something that I think Jordan does well. I like to think that's something I do well, but I think that's something that as a council we can work on and we can be better at. And, this community is a tough place. Like, our taxes have gone up. It's an expensive place to live. Our kids cannot afford to live here. Home prices are skyrocketing. Like, we have real serious problems. And as much as I believe in my heart that I can help solve that, the reality is that, one of us has to step in and be mayor starting tomorrow. And, I think that's going to be a tough thing to do if we just let this keep going. So I don't know what all this looks like on the other side. But I want the people who stuck with me to know that I'll never forget that. I don't know what comes next. And, those of you who were true to yourselves in this process and had the best interests of Missoula in heart, you're the ones that I want to work with. Those of you who weren't, I think that you should really think about what it is that your goals really are, or really were tonight. And, on our next round, I'm going to vote for Jordan to be mayor, even though I want to be mayor, because sometimes that's what leaders do. And, I don't know if this is the closest I'll ever be to this, probably, because I think that crying at council at 11 at night, it's probably not, it's probably not a good campaign video. But, I don't care, because one thing that I think that people who have supported me have said that is true is I try to be genuine. Like, you get who you get with me. And I am someone that likes to work with everybody. And I am someone who will sit and listen to everybody. And one of the maybe most frustrating things about this process is the people who've tried to paint the fact that I've been willing to work with Republicans and Democrats to get things done as a bad thing. Are you kidding me? Like, that's crazy. And if anybody thinks that, that's part of the problem in politics. That somehow, like, because we disagreed on one issue 7 years ago, like, you're a terrible person. Like, we need to be better than that. We need to be able to sit at a table and say, Sandy, I don't agree with you, but we're going to be better for it. And I know we're going to be better for it because I've really enjoyed getting to know you in this process. And so there's good from it. And I've been told that, Jordan and I are embarrassing everybody right now because we're letting this go. And, shame on them, because we're not. We're a group of 12 people who passionately want what's best for Missoula. And we all may have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we're trying to be public about this process, and we're trying to do what we think is right with the rules that we have. And sure, maybe a special election would be better, but that's not the rules that we have. So I would tell you that if there's anybody outside this room who's criticizing what's gone on inside this room, you don't know what it's like to walk in our shoes. This was not easy. And, I think I speak for all of my colleagues when I say that, because it's not. We've had so many people reach out. We've had so many people tell us what they think, and everybody puts it as like, this is the end of the world if you don't do what I think. And I think it's pretty easy for people to sit on the outside and name call and imply that somehow this is embarrassing, but I don't see it that way. I see mostly 12 people who really just struggled to reach an agreement in one night on how to proceed. And if we think that's bad in politics, then we're doing it wrong. Because the whole idea is that we talk about things and we work them out and we come to a solution instead of walking into a room and having the votes predetermined. And I just hope moving forward that, on this council, we can continue to build that relationship across the lines of ideologies and, tenure and all that, because I think that everybody on this council body has different things to bring. And obviously, we're going to change a little bit, because if we have Mayor Hess, we're going to have to fill a seat. And God, I hope that's a better process than this one. If something tells me it will be, partly because nobody on council can apply for the seat. But I want you all to know, to my council colleagues, that I really do. I appreciate that you considered me. And I appreciate those of you that are willing to stand with me, because the reality is, if I wasn't right now doing this, we would have another 3 hours of locked votes, because everybody wants to lock in. And what does that prove us? Like, it shows us that one of us is getting 6 and one of us is getting 5, or maybe we get to 6 and 6 and here we go. But sometimes you have to recognize that for the better of the community, we do need to move forward. So, to those that voted for me, I really appreciate it. To those that, were good in this process, I really do appreciate it. And to the community who reached out and even those who are going to be really mad at me for stepping aside, I want you to know that I value your opinions. And I look forward to standing next to, will be Mayor Hess when he gets sworn in, probably tomorrow, I assume. I don't know when that happens. And working side by side to, fight for Missoula, because we've got big things coming forward, and I think we've got an opportunity to continue to be a leader in the state. And I'm willing to recognize that sometimes that somebody has to say, okay, we've got to move on for the better of everybody, and I'm willing to do that. So thank you all. Sorry for showing you that I'm not just a stoic guy who sits here and opines, but I get emotional sometimes. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be part of this. And I'll just repeat it, that I'll be proud to work with Mayor Hess. And if anybody on the outside wants to criticize how this has all gone, that's your problem. And you're not rowing for Missoula, you're rowing against Missoula. And you got to wonder what your intentions really are. And if you wanted to be part of this process, you could have. So with that, Acting Mayor Jones, who I really have appreciated all that you've done for us over the last month. I think you were the perfect person at the perfect time. I'm ready to vote.
Marty, let's have a roll call vote.
Alrighty.
Could I please comment as well?
Sorry, we're going to have a roll call vote. And after that, you can comment.
All right. We have a nomination. Hess, Nugent, Rice, Giordano, and Avery. My lights just went off in my room here. Hang on. Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
West.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Carlino.
Rice.
Gontos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Nugent.
Jordan.
Nugent.
Nugent.
Jordan Hess.
Savage.
Nugent.
Okay, would any of you like to change your votes? We have 7 votes for Hess, 4 votes for Nugent, 1 vote for Rice.
All right. We'll have council comments in a bit. Thank you, everyone, for your patience tonight. This has been a long process, and I can't begin to tell you how many hours of work have gone into all of this, as everyone has tried to work through the vacuum of John Engen passing in August. It's been hard, and I know that many on council have frankly not been able to grieve Mayor Engen because we had to focus on the next steps. I will be eternally grateful that we had some amazing candidates, and I think we've seen exactly what we have tonight. So we have some good people in this community who care about this community, who are willing to roll up their shirt sleeves to make things work when it's necessary. And I've been on council for a lot of years. People take lots of pot shots. Doesn't get anything done. But we've got a new mayor, and I look forward to making that a nice, smooth process and getting things moving forward. So thank you, Jordan, for being willing to serve. Thank you, everyone, for all of your effort tonight. And thank you, Mike, for your incredible effort, too. I think we're in a good place, and that's where we need to be. Marty, could you please schedule a committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday so that we can go through the process of starting the appointment of a city councillor for Ward 2 to fill Mr. Hess's spot? And do you want to address that? Are you able to articulate what that will look like in terms of a schedule on Wednesday?
I am pulling up a committee schedule as we speak. So we can do it before committee start, after they're slated, or you could take it up in the middle of the day.
I think we can do it during lunch would be great. I think we have an hour for lunch, so if we can, don't have that schedule right in front of me, but
Okay. How about let's do committee of the whole at 11:45 to 12:15?
thank you. We will address the process of making the appointment process, triggering the appointment process for the Ward 2 City Councillor. All right, thank you. I basically gave my communications for the mayor already, so we'll go to general comments of city council members. Kristen Jordan, you're our only person virtually. I'll start with you. Kristen, did you want to provide any comments?
Sorry, thank you. No, I'll pass.
All right, so Ms. Vasika?
I know it's been a really long night, and I wanted to thank everybody for sticking with us. And Mike, I admire the heck out of you. I respect you, and I'm really. It sucks it had to go this way. Jordan, really congratulations. I look forward to working with you in the mayor role. And Mike, I want to continue doing our discussions and debates across the aisle to come up with some commonalities between us. On a different note, I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up, but on Thursday there was a Reserve Street cleanup with the MDOT employees and some volunteers. And there was a lot of comments on it on Facebook, about 200 underneath the news station's article, and I think there were only 10 volunteers. So I'd like to thank all the volunteers that showed up and helped. There is a bunch of trash under there that is going to be in our rivers, and thank you to everyone who came up and then showed up and helped take care of all that, all the rubbish that's going to be in our rivers. And I hope to see more volunteers next time.
Yeah, thanks. And I want to echo the sentiment for thanking everyone for sticking with us through this process. I also want to be really clear that my vote was not against anyone. My vote was who I felt was the best to lead the city in this time, at this moment, in a very challenging time, to be able to step in. I think that Mike is a genuine guy. I think he cares about this city, and I think he is a very talented person. And you know, to be honest, if anyone could come in and run the city after 8 months of being on council, it's probably him. But we have someone, you know, that had a longer tenure. So my vote was never against anyone, specifically not against Mike. I do think that showing your genuine side and that you genuinely care about this community actually could be a really good piece in your campaign. So I would, I think that don't discount that your passion for Missoula comes through, and your leadership comes through, and your willingness to do right now what was I think the right thing for the time. So thank you and congratulations, soon to be Mayor Hess.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Savage. I'm looking at you. Yes, Jennifer.
Yeah, I don't have much to say except that in some strange way, I'm proud of you both. I appreciate you both putting yourselves through this. I mean, this hasn't been an easy 4 weeks. All the conversations and I do appreciate you both. And I said at the beginning of this that I valued working with both of you, and I mean that. And congratulations, Jordan. And Mike, thank you for doing what was the hardest thing of the night. And that's all I have.
Mr. Hess.
Thank you. I am humbled, and I am honored, and I am terrified, and I am delighted and excited about this opportunity. And I will endeavor to serve with dignity, with honor, and with purpose. And I will endeavor to be thoughtful and kind and compassionate. And I will endeavor to do right by our community. There's a lot of people in this process I want to thank. and I'm going to go a little off script and go out of order here, I think. And I'll start by thanking Acting Mayor Jones for really stepping up and holding our community together in the most difficult of times, in holding the operations at City Hall together, in being the leader that we needed during a really tough time. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the fellow applicants who applied for the position and who challenged me, who taught me new things, who really taught me a lot about myself and my ambitions to serve the community. I want to particularly call out Mike Nugent, who is not just tonight, but throughout the several months that I've gotten to know him better, the most selfless, kind, generous person I know. He is dedicated to the community in a way that is really incredibly rare, and it's an incredible gift to our community. And I will, it could have just as well been you, Mike, and I am so grateful for your selflessness, and that really is true leadership, like you said. You are a housing expert. You're an expert at the legislature. You're a critical thinker, and a big part of my success will be relying on your knowledge and your expertise and your willingness to collaborate. And I look forward to that. I think John Engen, I often said that he pushed us to be the best version of ourselves. And I think that that's something that's going to happen here too. I think that Mike and the others around this table will push me to be the best version of myself, and that is what I hope to be for this community. I want to thank everyone who supported me around the table and throughout the community, and I'm grateful for the faith you put into me, and I'm grateful for the kindness and generosity that you've shown me. I also want to thank everyone who didn't support me, who told me why, who challenged me to think differently, and I want to earn your trust in this process, and I want to work together with on our shared goals. I want to thank our community for being a place that I love, that we all love, that we can be proud to call home. It's imperfect, but it's a beautiful community, and it's a wonderful community, and it's a community that is made that because of the people. The people of our community is what makes it the place that we want to live. And I want to preemptively thank the community for your patience and guidance as I endeavored to learn how to do a job that was done very well by someone for a very long time. I aim to be accessible. I aim to be collaborative. I hope to learn from you. I trust that I'll learn from you, and I look forward to serving you and serving our community. Lastly, I want to thank John Engen for his love and dedication to our community, for being a dear friend, and for being a tremendous mentor. I will miss John forever, and I will always be grateful for what he gave me and for what he gave all of us. There's a few things that I said in my interview last week that bear repeating, and I'm going to read them so I get them right. But I believe in providing government services for the benefits of the residents we serve. I believe that local government can be a transformative force for good in people's lives. I believe that our community works best when it works for everyone, and I believe that our community benefits from robust discussions and civic dialogues like we have around this table. I also believe that we are stronger together than we are apart, and that we are so much more than the sum of our parts. And so with that, I think we are off to an exciting new chapter, and I can't wait to get to work. Thank you.
Mr. Curling.
Yeah, we called at 9:45 for a 15-minute recess, and you know, it ended up being about 70 minutes, which I think is fine, except for I would really appreciate it if we could have these debates publicly and allow for public comment, allow for all council members to comment. We're deciding on the mayor of Missoula here. It should not be decided in the alley of whichever council members get called back into the alley to decide. So I just want to point out that that was not transparent at all, and it's really not a way to elect somebody or appoint somebody that would normally be elected. I think Jordan Hess will be a pretty great mayor, and you know, I obviously wanted somebody more progressive. I'm hoping for a mayor that'll match up to what science is demanding we do to stop the climate crisis, who's going to invest and show our budget and show our policies to match up with that science. I hope that we can have a mayor that won't let some neighborhoods only have single-family only zoning. Hope we have a mayor that allows for density in all neighborhoods, mixed-use zoning in all residential places around town to help solve our housing crisis. I hope to have a mayor that's going to help get us some sidewalks. We're not building very many sidewalks at all, and who will help convert our streets to make them safer, and who's going to help pick up the pace on some of the housing and climate crises. I think we're headed in a pretty good direction, but I am very disappointed about how this vote was decided, and I would rather that we had that talk and debate here in front of everybody publicly, but we haven't. We can try and do better in the future, and I look forward to the new chapter for the city.
Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. This, I think, was one of the most unsatisfying victories, if you will. I voted for Jordan Hess multiple times, and I will do it again because I think he is the right person at the right time. But that is not to say that Mike Nugent isn't a dedicated and committed council member, and yes, we'll be okay. And my respect for you was at high, and you showing your emotions and doing what you just did tonight. Now you're at very high on my ranking levels, and I appreciate the conversations that we've had. I look forward to working with you and all council members in a more meaningful way. I think this process has shown that we got our work cut out for us in terms of collaboration and more communication, and I'm excited to work with Jordan Hess in his new capacity as mayor. But I also want to thank all the candidates, all the applicants. This was not easy, and especially tonight to the Nugent family. You've been here all night supporting your son, your brother, your spouse, and you should feel proud of the commitment that he made. To the Hess family, you should also feel very proud. This is a good thing for Missoula to have committed and passionate people who want to serve, and I feel honored to serve this community alongside both of you and all of you. Thanks.
Mr. Nugent.
Ask, but only because I already talked, so.
You sure? You can go again if you want. Mr. Contos.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting evening. Just seeing the way things were going there for a while, I thought this is the classic definition of insanity. Nothing was changing. And I think the times we live in right now they're very different. And I think what we all saw here this evening was just an incredible act of humility to back out of a situation that really means a lot to not only the city, but the person. That takes a lot of guts. But I don't think just strong guts. I think humility. You saw where things were going. You knew there was a standstill. And to take a step back like that, that's what we need in this country right now. So we could start working with one another instead of throwing rocks at each other, or instead of bumping heads with each other. This was your classic example right here. Thank you very much.
Ms. West.
I think that we were stuck is really just a testament to the quality of both of our candidates and less maybe about, I don't know. I think we're lucky to have people of this caliber stepping forward to serve in this role because it's, I think they're crazy, both of them. But I also want to remind people that there's things going on outside of the mayoral appointment process. And one thing that's happening over in our part of town is that there is the first ever Heart of Missoula Clean Up and Get Down event this Saturday, which is in support of the Lowell Elementary School PTA. And this is officially my first year, not as a Lowell mama, but I hope that folks will show up and support the neighborhood by cleaning up and celebrating, and lots of thanks to Katie at Bathing Beauty Beads who and the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Council for coming up with this idea, and for all the local businesses, jumping in and making an amazing, well, hopefully an amazing neighborhood event.
Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. I didn't make a lot of comments when we were going around at the beginning saying why I was supporting one candidate or the other, mainly because it was such an incredibly hard decision. I respect Mr. Nugent and Mr. Hess incredibly, an incredible amount, and I've had good conversations with so many people in the community. I appreciate everyone reaching out and having those conversations, and it's been really hard because the number of times I've thought, God, I wish I could call the mayor and ask him what we should do has been numerous. And it just sort of continues to rub salt in that wound. And I think about where we're going and the challenges that we have, and they are a lot. And we on council will have tough decisions to make, and we will endeavor to persevere with those decisions, and we may not always get it right, and we'll do what we can to support the mayor, the new mayor appointee, I don't know, elect, that's not word, as they move forward. And I think we can't say that we're going to follow in John's footsteps, because that would be disingenuous to the city, to John's memory, and all I think we can do is try to follow his light and his path that he laid out, and every day try to love Missoula as much as he did. And none of us are ever going to get that good at it, but I think it's a noble endeavor, and that I have not enjoyed this process one bit, nor has any of my council members, and to have to do it in the wake of someone that we all care about so much, love, having died is really hard. But I thank you to, Mr. Nugent for, conversations we've had, his leadership, his passion, his love for Missoula. And I thank Mr. Hess for, the work that he has done to try to better Missoula in big and small ways. And I know that he'll carry that through in his new role. So thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. The last thing I'll just put out there is for all city councilors, first round is on me next door after this. Not the Gen Pub. You're on your own. But I hope that we go over next door, and we will not have more than 6 people at a table, so we will not have a quorum. But I think we need to raise a glass to John, and then raise a glass to our new mayor, and raise a glass to Mike. So Marty, we're hoping that you can come over also, city clerk, and bring your dog, please. and we'll get you a drink once you get there. I know it takes you a while to wrap up here. All right, so put that out, and we have no miscellaneous communications, reports, or announcements. We will stand adjourned.